At the bar, two men strike up a conversation about the recent sightings of an extraordinary monster here, in the royal capital of Albul. The latter is not too familiar with that, so the first man continues, explaining how this persona even has Fenrir as its subordinate. Fenrir used to be under the Demon Lord's command, and now this monster easily commands it, with many believing the monster's strength to be abnormal. The other man couldn't help but chuckle when he heard that. "What's that even about?" he asks. But the first man continues that the monster seems to take the appearance of a black-haired child accompanied by a tiny dog. At the mention of that, two figures from behind flinch, and there was cluttering that soon followed. Wasn't there someone sitting behind them a while ago? They could have sworn someone was there. Outside, the person in question is a small boy heaving a sigh of relief. "That was close," he says to his furry little friend. He can't believe rumors have spread already, but one thing he does know now is that growing up isn't simple. So did these two end up right where they are? It all started in a different world, not too long ago. There was a flash of blinding light as an oncoming truck sped through the pedestrian. Before long, there was a crash followed by a commotion. Yuki Kanzaki is a 33-year-old salaryman. He's just your average office worker without any notable characteristics. The poor guy never expected to die like that, saving a girl as he did. Ever since their mother died early, Yuki became the breadwinner of the family, raising his younger brother and sister with his father. But recently, the two have been achieving so much success in their own lives. They express their gratitude for all the hard work and sacrifices he did for them. So maybe leaving this world behind with such results isn't so bad after all. Yuki fully believes that he lived a fulfilling life, albeit a short one, without any regrets. He was ready to move on to the next life, or so he thought. To his surprise, a young lady dressed in bizarre clothes appeared to him. What's more, she even congratulated him for being selected. Selected? Wait, who is she? And didn't he die? The girl confirms that he did die, and before he could ask what this place was, she tells him that this is somewhat like her divine place. Anyway, congratulations, she tells him again. Among the many souls who died helping others, Yuki's soul is chosen to be reborn in another world. He clarifies if she's referring to reincarnation, and the girl affirms, since he died helping a complete stranger, she'll reincarnate him into a pretty high-level and powerful being. Powerful and high-level? Now that sounds fishy to him, but the girl, or maybe it's a boy, tells him that it's what they call a cheat on Earth. Furthermore, she will even grant him any ability that he wants. That along with the cheats, Yuki can become someone, a hero even, and become popular with the girls. Yuki only furrows his brows and tells her that he doesn't want that. He doesn't need cheats or things like that at all. If he can just live his next life by just being himself and laughing with everyone, then it should be good enough for him. She can't believe him. He's too pure and humble for all of this. Still, it doesn't feel right for her not to give him something. Okay, she has decided, she'll give him a sturdy body. Alright, that should do it. From out of nowhere, she pulls a bazooka out of nowhere and aims it at Yuki. She starts the countdown, checking the coordinates as she tells him last-minute instructions. She had already set up a hidden skill to overcome language barriers, but the only downside is that she can't control the place or age of reincarnation. Yuki panics upon seeing the bazooka. What the hell? Is she really sending him to the other world by shooting him? Before he could even evade, the girl fired the bazooka and bid him farewell. Oh, one more thing. The abilities from his previous life's virtue points that she can't control will be a surprise for him to discover in the next world. The what? Yuki didn't quite catch that, but if he can just live normally, then it's all good. But what good is there when our hero finds himself in the middle of a blizzard? Boy, she wasn't kidding when she said she couldn't control his place of reincarnation. Anyway, Yuki is literally reborn and is now a baby, sitting dumbfounded at this snowy mountain. It's cold. He could die at this rate, or could he? Despite being barefoot on the snow, Yuki realizes that he's not freezing at all. Is this what the goddess meant when she said she'd give him a sturdy body? Because if it is, Yuki can move his limbs freely. Since it's come to this, he decides to walk along and find shelter from the blizzard, if it weren't for the pack of wolves eyeing him a few feet away. Wah! This is it. It's over. This is how he dies, getting eaten by wolves not 5 minutes into his reincarnation. He starts crying and only prays that this won't hurt. As the wolf pack surrounds him, a sudden stranger intervenes and takes down the pack single-handedly. She glares at the wolves, telling them to get lost, while our baby hero watches in astonishment. He looks at this cloaked stranger, amazed at how they took down the pack with a single strike. Is this person even human? Gosh, the goddess wasn't kidding when she said the people of this world are pretty strong. But wait, isn't this world too harsh? Hey! Yuki hears the voice call him. That rattled him, bracing himself for the worst as the person reached out to him, only for them to ask if he was all right. His savior wraps Yuki's cloak snugly around him while she assures him that he doesn't need to worry anymore. Wow, this person is strong and kind. Who would have thought that the people of this world are kind after all? She carries Yuki in her arms, noting how the poor child must have been so cold. But then again, why is a child out in a place like this? Since there's no point in staying there, she decided to carry him along, seeing how she has no choice but to take him to that place. And that place she was referring to is a beautiful house by the lake, surrounded by all sorts of flora. Is this paradise? Yuki can't help but ask in his head. Just then, the person carrying him called out to Olympia, asking if she was there. From there, a beautiful woman descended from the sky and approached them eagerly. She notices the child in her companion's arms. What a cute traveler. What a cute. This girl Olympia floats over them while all Yuki can think about is how beautiful she is. But wait, she's floating. So she's not human? Yuki's savior puts him down, surprised that Olympia called the boy a traveler. The latter explains that travelers like Yuki occasionally come from the world beyond, which explains why they were in a place like that. Olympia turns to Yuki and asks for his name, so our hero opens his mouth and struggles to say his name. Huh? Why can't he speak properly? But his worry didn't last long, with Olympia praising his name. She introduces herself as a spirit and clings to Yuki's savior, whose name is Lucy, the hunter. Yuki admits how these two warm his heart and thanks them for helping him. They lean over and find him adorable while he continues to struggle to communicate. He must be about 3 years old in this world, which explains why he struggles to talk. And yet, he still wants to express his gratitude to them. You don't have a place to live, right? Olympia asks him. And when Yuki nods, she decides that they, Olympia and Lucy, will raise him together. Lucy is speechless before asking the other how the hell she came to that conclusion. Olympia floats along with Yuki in her arms, simply stating that the child has no parents in this world. Plus, the world is also enveloped by the miasma released by the demon lord at his death. They can't leave this kid out there, it's still utter chaos. Which is why Olympia thinks that Lucy is also much safer if she stays here. Sure, Yuki has seen a glimpse of Lucy's power, and it's quite something. And if that's what it takes to survive in this world, then he knows full well that he'd be dead meat if he were left abandoned. It's a good thing Lucy decided to stay just for the child's sake, right? Both Yuki and Olympia were overjoyed to hear her answer. Olympia smiles down on our hero, telling him not to worry because it's fine for him to stay here. He reciprocates the gesture, flashing her a beaming smile. But more importantly, Olympia's motherly instincts kicked in. Yuki must be hungry, right? They should eat first. They head straight to the house, with Yuki thinking about how he rarely depended on others back in his previous life. But right here, it feels so heartwarming, sharing a meal and being taken care of by these two ladies. He can only hope that someday he gets to repay their kindness. Cut to a year later, we see Yuki saying bye to Olympia, his mom, and then proceeding to tumble through the rocky path. He lands on both feet, and yes, our boy is growing up in good shape. Even he's amazed at how nimble his body is. Amazing! He never even thought a 4-year-old could move like this. Still, he can't keep relying on them forever, which is why he needs to train more. He was just thinking of doing a little more today when the boy got out of balance. Luckily, Lucy was there to keep a steady hand on him. The latter questions what Yuki was doing in such a place. Olympia was worried. "Father!" Yuki cries out upon seeing who it was. Yeah, that's what he calls Lucy, and like we said before, Olympia is the mom. His father asks him why he tried to climb the cliff, and he answers that it's because he wanted to see the world. Apparently, this world is filled with miasma, and it has a negative effect on magical beasts and monsters. They go berserk when they're exposed to it. Worst, they can even generate miasma themselves. The place where they are is peaceful because it's protected by his mom's barrier. But like any curious being, Yuki wants to see what's beyond the barrier and learn about the world he will be living in. After a minute of silence, Lucy turns to him, saying she'll show him what the world is like just for today. She takes Yuki in her arms as Lucy jumps from one apex to the next easily, as expected of his father. After a while, she tells him that they're here. The two stand in a barren land where Lucy explains that this mountain was once called Athos, the Holy Peak. Back then, it was filled with spiritual power, but now it's called the Mountain of Evil. Looking at the view before him, it's close to looking like Mordor. Little Yuki stares at the wasteland before him. Lucy wishes she could show him Athos as Olympia loved it, saying how beautiful it was back then, full of life and greenery. Yuko stares at her and notices how even Lucy is saddened by the current state of Athos. That's when it hit him. This is it. This is the way he can repay their kindness. Yuki asks her then if they, his parents, will be happy if he grows up and manages to restore Athos to its former splendor. Lucy didn't expect to hear such a bold proclamation, but she smiled and said they would. Well, they don't know how to do it yet, but if it's Yuki, she believes he might be able to do it. Our little hero smiles because it's been so long since he thought about future dreams. And if he's being honest, he's not sure he can do it. He shouts with all his heart how someday, he'll restore the mountain to its beautiful form. And to do that, he needs to be strong enough to survive in this world. Meanwhile, somewhere else in Athos, a pack of wolves is busy running and stops right in front of Olympia's barrier, staring at the lush greenery from the other side. Olympia feels something is off about her barrier. Little Yuki is busy practicing with his sword when Olympia calls saying, "It's time for dinner." "Coming," he hollers back. At the table, Lucy praises him for his improvements, something he's glad to hear. You see, our little hero has had a new goal ever since he got reincarnated in this world, to restore Athos, now called the Mountain of Evil, back to its pristine state. The mission is his way of repaying the two mothers who raised him, and to do that, he needs to eliminate the miasma appearing all over the world. Okay, but how does he stop the miasma? Currently, Yuki and Lucy are back at the fields, with the little one asking his master how to do so. Lucy replies that at the moment, they can only treat the symptoms of miasma. As for the monsters and magical beasts generated by that same miasma, they defeat it. To have the little one better understand it, Lucy elaborates that if he can take down 10 frost dragon mimics in one night, then it might thin the miasma out. Keyword: might. By the way, frost dragon mimics are incredibly nimble aggregates of slimes with ice cores. Did she just say 10? Right. Yuki promises to do his best. Lucy nods proudly. She already expected this much from him, patting his head as she said so. Thanks to Olympia's barrier, it's safe inside their home. But outside the barrier, magical beasts run rampant, and you'd need skills like Lucy's to survive out there, which is why our little hero is doing his best to train hard under her. Olympia, on the other hand, thinks the latter is being too harsh on Yuki. Talk about motherly. She hits Lucy for giving the little one a hard time, though Lucy promises she's adjusting according to Yuki's level. Still, Yuki is young! Olympia fires back, fretting over him, knowing he just got a scrape on his leg yesterday. Yuki assures her that he's okay now. Look, it's already healed. Huh, would you look at that? It really is healed, leaving both of his moms impressed. Kids sure do heal quickly, huh? Lucy quips. Yuki gets out of his seat and tells Olympia not to worry. In his mind, he's not really sure, but maybe it's the goddess's gift to him, enabling him to heal his injuries quickly. Well, if it's Yuki who says it, it's not like Olympia can say anything more. For the past few years, a pack of ice wolves has been living here, so she's worried about him going near the barrier's edge. What's more, the miasma is getting thicker, weakening the barrier's effects. Upon hearing that, Lucy also starts to worry. Since she's done with their meal, she grabs her cloak and volunteers to check outside the barrier. Olympia is grateful for her initiative when Lucy notices Yuki trotting a step behind her. With twinkling eyes, he asks her if he can come with her. "No, you stay here." She holds her hand up, stopping the little man in his tracks. Of course, Yuki is not too pleased with that, but Lucy points out that it's too early for him to face ice wolves in real combat. Instead, she instructs him to do his usual magical beast extermination and wild herb gathering outside the barrier. With drooping shoulders, Yuki says he will do as she said. It's the little guy's turn to leave now that she is gone. As he does, Olympia reminds him not to go outside the barrier. Okay, and off he goes. His mom Olympia's barrier strongly repels beings wrapped in powerful miasma. However, a magical beast may enter the barrier depending on the strength of the miasma they possesses. Naturally, Yuki asks her why not just make it so that nothing can enter the barrier, but Olympia points out that if she did that, then no humans or animals could enter. Apparently, humans also possess a bit of miasma in this world. As for the magical beasts inside the barrier, little Yuki is strong enough to defeat them now, since they're pretty weak to begin with. But not knowing the strength of typical magical beasts in the outside world makes him uneasy, which is exactly why he wants to know about the magical beasts outside. After defeating a few small snakes, Yuki runs straight to the barrier's edge, apologizing to his master as he does so. Sorry, he can't help it, he's at the age where he's curious about everything. After a little more running, Yuki finally spots Lucy a few feet ahead. But something else is there. Something dangerous. True enough, there's a majestic creature before them, prompting Yuki to wonder if that is an ice wolf too. But looking at it from his vantage point, it looks way too big to be an ice wolf. Wait a minute, he remembers Olympia saying the barrier is weakening. Could that be the cause of it? From below, Lucy almost hisses at the creature before her. "You again," she says. Yuki's master continues that the creature is not welcome at their place, so it should leave. She starts scaring the other ice wolves, but Yuki can see that despite her master's best efforts, the big ice wolf remains unfazed. It's like it's different from the other ice wolves. It takes a few ginger steps before lunging at Lucy, but she was ready. She quickly counters the wolf's attack, and the next moment, the latter plops to the ground, much to Yuki's shock. Lucy addresses the creature, saying its master, the demon lord, is no longer here, so it has no reason to fight. She urges the big wolf to go back quietly and not to interact with humans anymore. So it was the demon lord's pet, huh? The outside world truly is a dangerous place, but for some reason, Yuki can't help but pity the poor creature. It stands on its feet with a forlorn expression, so ultimately, he ended up walking right to it. Yuki calls out to the giant wolf, asking if it's alone. He offers his food and drink to the latter, putting them to the ground while the wolf sniffs them. Yuki grabs the food in his hands, telling the wolf that it has no poison in it, seeing how the creature eyes him suspiciously. In one swift move, the wolf snatches the food in his hand. Oh, its expression changed, and suddenly it's on its best behavior. Yuki can see the monster is regaining energy right before his very eyes. Is this because of the food and water he gave a moment ago? Looking at the wolf like this, he's surprisingly just like a normal dog. Whatever the cause may be, Yuki is just glad to see the creature perk up. He pets its fur, noting how it seems different from other magical beasts. If he's being honest, it feels like he can communicate with the wolf a bit, and it also reminds him of a puppy he couldn't adopt long ago. Back then, Yuki stared longingly at the pup inside the cardboard box under the pouring rain when he was a kid. With his face smooshed on the wolf's fur, Yuki relays how he couldn't keep a dog with him and regrets not being able to take the puppy back home even for just a little while. He can only hope that a kind person adopted the puppy. If it were him who had adopted it, he would have named it Pochi. Wait a minute, that's it. From now on, this creature before him will be Pochi. Pochi woofs in reply, perking up at his new name. Out of the blue, a prompt appears in front of Yuki, along with a quest. What's this? Tame? It makes him wonder if this is another of that goddess's gifts. But more importantly, something is flowing in him. Are these Pochi's memories? Yuki watches as Pochi's memories unfold before him. After the demon lord disappeared, the poor creature lost its purpose and suffered from the miasma his previous owner released into the world. But that's not all. She also lost all of his companions, and yet they continue to move forward. Their small pack tried to enter the safe barrier but couldn't pass through. That's when it hit Yuki. Pochi just wanted to run freely in the forest. Our little hero nuzzles the Pochi, telling him that they should restore the place to its beautiful state. To do that, they need to resolve this first. Pochi stood on standby, as if he were waiting for Yuki's command, as the little hero racked his brain on what to do with Pochi. The latter looks too much like a magical beast that, if he brings him home, he knows for sure his master would kill him. What can a little boy do? A bright light flashes before Yuki, and the next thing he knows, Pochi looks a lot like Kirara from Inuyasha. He's fun size now. How about that? Pochi can actually shrink. But is this really the Pochi from before? Chibi Pochi starts licking Yuki's face all over, almost causing the latter to tumble to the ground. Yuki commands, "Sit!" and Pochi follows in a beat. Alright, this might actually work. They head straight home and see that both his parents are outside. Perfect timing. He calls to them, prompting the two to approach Yuki, curious about the little mutt beside him. Pochi glares at them, so Yuki has to pet him while telling his parents that he's not scary. So can Yuki keep him? He promises to take care of the puppy. Lucy is hesitant, but upon seeing the furry creature pull a face, what else could she do but allow Yuki to do so? Olympia is also on board on the condition that Yuki is with him. Yay! It worked out! The master and pet turn to each other, happy that they can be together, when Lucy narrows her eyes at him and calls him. She knows he followed her earlier even though she told him not to, catching our little guy off guard. Busted. His shoulders droop and he says sorry to Lucy. Fortunately, she's not mad, but what she wants is for him to train extra hard alongside that mutt from now on. Obviously, the two are more than happy to oblige with that. Fast forward 2 years and our little Yuki has grown a bit and calls his parents' attention to a very important matter. He wants to leave this mountain. Yuki waves at an older man standing beside a carriage. Does this carriage go to Twilight? He asks. The carriage driver replies that it does go to Twilight, but he is concerned about whether the little guy is alone. Yuki affirms that it's just him and his dog, Pochi. So he asks again if they can ride with him. Sure they can. A boy and his dog are still customers, you know. But before that, Pochi and the camel had a little stare down. It would have continued longer had Yuki not called his furry friend over. With that, the two settle comfortably inside the carriage. Our little man checks his dagger, thinking that he needs to do his best from here on out. But how did the two end up like this? Let's wind it back and continue from where the last chapter cut off. A few days ago, Yuki told his parents that he wanted to leave the mountain. Did his moms hear that correctly? Olympia struggled to understand what the little man had just said. What exactly is this boy trying to communicate? Even Lucy thinks that it's too sudden. Lucy looks outside and notices that it's raining, while Olympia grows worried. She points out that Yuki is still small, asking their little man if he can wait until he's a bit older before he ventures outside. To this, the latter tells her that he has trained a lot with Pochi. Plus, he can easily defeat frost dragon mimics now. He's well aware that the place is protected by his mom's barrier, which is really nice, but outside the barrier, it's a completely different world. It's ravaged by miasma everywhere. Olympia was about to point out that's exactly the reason why he shouldn't go, but he was quick to add that it's not that he wants to say goodbye to them. It's actually the opposite. It's because he loves them both so much. With that said, he is keen to learn about the world as soon as possible and find a way to eliminate the miasma. Well, sure, Olympia is happy that he feels that way, but she didn't get to finish her sentence. Lucy holds her back and shakes her head. Yuki continues that he doesn't want to wait for someone else to do it. He wants to do it himself. Yuki wants to restore the mountains of Athos that Olympia loved back to their original state. That is his dream. Olympia can't help but get tearful when she hears that because she also wants to see Athos in its original beauty too. The mother and son share a hug with Lucy standing behind them. Since Yuki has already made up his mind, the latter only hopes that he won't push himself too hard. Yuki promises he won't, adding that he'll rely on adults for things he can't do. Since he's still a child, Yuki knows he'll experience many new things from now on. He might fail and get discouraged, but even so, he wants to go out and try. Well, would you look at that? Lucy is proud to see their little man has grown up splendidly without their noticing. Yuki assures them that they're still family even if they're apart and that he'll always be their child. Olympia hugs him again, saying he's always welcome to come back to them as the three finally hug it out. Yuki is their precious family after all. Later, Lucy goes ahead and writes an introduction letter for Yuki since he doesn't know anything about the outside world. She addresses the letter to an old friend of hers who she believes can look after him. An old friend? This is the first time Yuki has heard Lucy mention someone like that. Well, he's something like that for Lucy as she explains that at the mining city of Twilight, there's a man named Peter who runs a handyman business. Oh, so is she writing so Yuki can work there as a handyman's helper? Lucy says he can work and learn a lot of things at Twilight since it's a fairly big city. Pochi barks, prompting Yuki to ask if he can take Pochi with him. Lucy turns to look at Yuki's furry friend and points out that the creature seems to be attached only to Yuki. Since it's like that, she'll mention Pochi in the letter too, with Yuki already feeling happy since Pochi can come too. Lucy tells him that they should wait for the reply, and as soon as they have one, they can set a date for Yuki's departure. In the 2 years of training, despite the conditions, Yuki learned a lot from his master. He learned how to hunt magical beasts, whose furs can be sold for high prices and whose livers can be used as medicine, among many other things. He knows all of these will be useful in his life from now on, and the mere thought of going out to the world leaves him feeling both anxious and excited. Wait, now that he thinks about it, in his previous life he always held back for his younger siblings and lived without challenging himself. While they were busy doing last-minute preparations, Olympia tackled Yuki for a cuddle, wanting to go with him too. Anyway, back to Yuki's thoughts. He feels excited at the thought of testing his abilities in the wilder world. It's exciting, isn't it? He asks Pochi, who woofs at him in return. On the day of his departure, Yuki is all dressed up with Olympia clinging desperately to him. Won't he reconsider even now? But the little hero won't budge. Now if only he could break free from his clingy mom. With that, Olympia releases him and feels sorry for suffocating him. Lucy, on the other hand, is pretty chill, asking if he has the letter of introduction with him. Along with that, she reminds him to always keep an eye on his money, map, and luggage. Olympia reaches out to him again and hands him a couple of fruits, asking last minute if there's anything he forgot. She starts crying again because she really hates that she can't accompany him this time. Lucy, on the other hand, remains calm as ever, as she's about to tell him the most important thing. If you're attacked, never fight back seriously. It takes a while for him to process what she said. So if his child self is attacked by adults, he should run away instead of fighting? That's what she means, right? I understand, the little man replies, raising his hand as he says so. And now for Lucy's parting gift, she hands him a dagger. She borrowed this dagger from her father's drawer when she left home. From the looks of it, Lucy's father didn't have a sword to give to a woman. Yuki takes it with both hands and holds it close to his chest, thanking his master for the parting gift. Lucy helps him put on his bag before tapping it, urging him to go. Now fitted with everything, Yuki thanks them and happily heads out. I'm off! He waves back with Pochi running by his side and his mom's waving him goodbye. So now we're back with Yuki and Pochi sitting at the back of the carriage. Staring at the dagger in his hand, he feels sad that he has to leave them, but he has already decided that he must do this. What's left now is to do his best. As if he read his master's mind, Pochi barks at him, prompting Yuki to agree. He thinks he'll be fine too. The carriage driver calls out from the front that they're off to Twilight, getting Yuki hyped up again now that they're departing. The driver gives them a heads up that he'll just run through if they run into a pack of black wolves, warning Yuki not to lean out too much. But other than that, the little man is curious since they're the only ones in the carriage. Is this ride a private hire? The older man affirms that it is so, at least until they reach the next big station. In this remote area, he says it's just Yuki or Lord Granados. Lord Granados? Who's that? The carriage driver explains that he's the great hero who defeated the demon lord. Rumors say that he sometimes uses the shared carriages around here. He's a hero worth 1,000 warriors, strong enough to scatter magical beasts single-handedly. The older man continues that Lord Granados is a mysterious masked warrior who appeared out of nowhere and defeated the demon lord with his companions. After hearing all that, Yuki can't help but be impressed by this Lord Granados. He must be an incredibly strong person. Just hearing about him reminds Yuki of his master. He thought Lucy was pretty strong, but there are even more amazing people in the world. He cuddles Pochi, saying he needs to get fired up to become a strong adult too. He wonders what kind of encounters lie ahead of them, but whatever they may be, Yuki is already excited. At night, Yuki and Pochi lean out of the carriage and see floating orbs, mesmerized by the view. Soon enough, the carriage driver picks up a few more customers along the way, older men who stare at Yuki and Pochi curiously. The latter is on guard and glares at the other passengers, even more so at night while Yuki sleeps. Soon enough, the driver calls out, "Twilight, Twilight," signaling they've arrived at the destination. Pochi is already up, with the older man informing Yuki that they're here. The little man is still groggy, greeting them with a good morning. The older man asks how the ride was, thanking Yuki for doing business with him. The latter says he slept the whole time, so the ride wasn't so bad. Well, that pleased the driver. He's even surprised that they didn't run into any packs of black wolves either, wishing the little man could have ridden with them longer. Yuki only smiles at him with Pochi woofing before they finally step off the carriage. What welcomes them is a bustling street, so this is the city. There were people everywhere selling goods and walking around. Yuki walks around with his big bag and a couple of ladies spot him. They find the little man adorable, so they call out to Yuki asking if he wants to play with Big Sister. As soon as he heard her, alarm bells rang in Yuki's head. Stranger danger! He runs off in a hurry, telling them he'll do so next time. Our little hero runs off to the nearest street with no idea where he's heading. Finally, he opens the map to check where he's meeting Peter-san. But suddenly, a strong gust of wind blew the map away. Yuki and Pochi chase it as it leads them both to a dark alley. Woo! Thank goodness he got his hands on it. That's when he heard voices in front of him, hesitant about this bad thing they were about to do. Of course, Yuki looks up and sees two older men before him. What's more, an unconscious girl is lying right there. Are they bad people? Wait, no matter how you look at it, these two look sketchy. Both men stand with Baldy remembering Yuki. He's the same kid they rode with in the carriage. Now that he mentions it, Yuki remembers that Pochi was pretty wary of these men too. Since he's already here, Yuki asks them what they were doing. The other man replies that he was trying to stop the girl from being stripped. Baldy didn't like how he was thrown under the bus like that, asking Stinky, the other guy, why he's freaking out all of a sudden. Stinky can't help it, he's scared of the dog. While they were busy bickering, Yuki checked on the girl and was relieved to see that she was okay. Who are these men? Are they highway robbers targeting young children? But Mighty, the bald one, has had enough. He takes a swing at Yuki, thinking one hit should be enough to shut this kid up. But Yuki easily evades his attack, leaving Mighty shocked. He tries punching Yuki again and orders Stinky to hold the kid down. The latter is a bit hesitant, but does as his colleague says. Sorry kid, but just stay still. Of course, Yuki doesn't stay still. He evaded all their attacks and got both men bashing their heads against each other. While Mighty was ready to throw hands against his companion, Yuki wondered if his opponents were tired from the carriage ride. He can't help but notice how easy it is to horse around with them, compared to when he was playing tag with his master back at home. Speaking of the two, they both turn their attention to Yuki, annoyed at how nimble he is. He lands just in time for someone to yell, "Wait!" All three of them freeze in place, with Mighty seeing that it's Abel. A cloaked man approaches them, asking the two what they were doing. Even though this guy is smaller, he commands both Mighty and Stinky with such ease, telling them not to lay a hand on Yuki. Stinky is quick to apologize while Yuki watches them wordlessly. He remembers now. This dude was with them at the carriage, positioned way behind the others. Abel ignores them and tells Yuki that the girl is probably hungry or out of mana, but she'll wake up soon. The former apologizes for causing trouble to our little hero, seeing how the two must have been tempted by the unconscious girl. Before Yuki could reply, Abel was already ushering the two away, leaving Yuki to wonder just what the heck that was about. True to what Abel said, the girl starts to stir, with Pochi barking right beside her. Yuki asks her if she's okay, and a moment later she opens her eyes. She's got flower-shaped pupils. The girl sits up and asks where she is, so Yuki fills her in, explaining that she's in an alley in Twilight City. Alley? That's all she managed to say before puking her guts out. She turns away from him, embarrassed at what she just did, but Yuki says it's okay. He can't help but worry about her. Is this a symptom of mana depletion? What can he do to make her feel better? Well, for now he thinks it's best to get help, so he extends his hand asking if she can stand. As soon as she takes his hand, the girl feels something course through her. This is a healer's technique to share mana with others, she tells him. Suddenly, she clasps both of Yuki's hands, amazed at how talented he is despite being so young. Okay? Yuki takes this chance to introduce himself. In his mind, he wonders if this is another talent the goddess has bestowed upon him. The girl beams once she hears his name and introduces herself as Sakura Halcyon. She thanks him for his help and asks if she can do anything in return. Well, since she offered it, Yuki decides to be honest. The truth is that our little hero is lost, so can she take him to the Peter statue? Of course she could. The two went back to the main street where they chatted along as they went about. Yuki tells her that he came from the mountains and she finds him admirable despite being so young. Unlike her, who collapsed in such an unlikely place, Sakura belittles herself, calling herself a useless piece of trash. It's not lost on Yuki how negative she is, so he decides to change the subject. "What kind of place is Twilight?" he asks. Sakura says the city used to be called a barren land where not even plants would grow. But Peter-san, who belonged to the hero Granados' group, changed it. According to her, he discovered that this place had large deposits of a valuable mineral called Evanium. This mineral stores the power of ancient spirits. Yuki has never heard of that. "Evanium?" he echoes. Sakura explains that the spirit stone Evanium is a crystallized stone containing the power of ancient spirits. The ones mined in the city mostly contain the power of light and fire spirits. She continues that in this world where the power of spirits has greatly weakened since the spirit energy release, the discovery of Evanium veins was a ray of hope as a new power source. This makes Peter-san truly one of the great legends. Sakura extends her hands as she says this, beaming, making the other people move away from her. Even Yuki and Pochi. She gets conscious upon seeing how the people are looking at them. Anyway, back to the conversation. Yuki is amazed by how Twilight is created by this amazing person called Peter-san. Sakura thinks so too, motioning toward Peter-san's bronze statue. Wait a minute, is that him on the corner of the panel? Yuki stares, wondering if that's just someone who happens to look like Peter-san. But the older man turns to them and waves, approaching Yuki as he takes his hand and asks if the little man is Yuki. The latter says he is, while behind him Sakura is close to losing it. "Peter-san, why are you here?" she asks. But Peter-san's attention is still on Yuki, telling our little hero that he has heard all about him from Lucy, welcoming our hero to Twilight as he said so. Yuki can only stare since he didn't expect the real deal to show up. But if he's so famous, why is no one looking at him? Is he concealing his presence? Whatever the reason may be, Yuki finds him and the adults in this world amazing. Finally, Peter-san notices Sakura's presence and she's quick to introduce herself to him. Peter Zero-san carries both Yuki and Pochi in his arms, then turns to Sakura saying she should come to his house as well. He'd like to offer her tea, as the person who guided Yuki to him. It was an easy yes to Sakura, so the three of them head to the older man's home. Soon, Yuki spots a sign that reads, "Peter's Handyman." Well, would you look at that? He can also read this world's writing as well. Is this also because of one of the goddess's gifts to him? Peter-san opens the door and welcomes them, with the two trailing behind him as soon as he heads inside. Yuki sits at the table and Peter-san praises him for doing well on his long journey. The former thanks Peter-san for having them. And then the older man tells them to help themselves to the bread on the table. Sakura's eyes twinkle even more upon hearing that, and she thanks him. She digs in, eating so heartily that Yuki can't help but think that she must have been really hungry. Meanwhile, at the back, Peter-san is fiddling with the containers, wondering if this tea is okay. Suddenly, a girl appears in a hurry, upset that her father didn't wake her up. Now the guests are already here. She locks eyes with Sakura right then and there. "You're a trainee saint from the Museon Order?" the girl asks Sakura, and the latter hurriedly gets up, saying she has an urgent matter to attend to. Yuki watches her wordlessly. What just happened to her? He asks Peter-san why Sakura acted like that. The older man explains that the Museon Order Sakura belongs to has some issues. Since Yuki will most likely be involved with them in the future, he decides to explain the situation further. Our little man worries a little because the adult world is so complicated. But first, Peter-san introduces him to his daughter, Akino. The two exchange greetings, with Akino pleased to work with such a cute boy and puppy from here on out. Akino offers to make tea for them, leaving Peter-san and Yuki alone at the table. The older man begins by saying how surprised he was to hear that Lucy could no longer handle it alone. Still, he's relieved to see that Yuki seems to be a relatively ordinary child. In the letter, he mentions how Lucy said that she had already taught Yuki all that she could, but there's nothing more she can teach in the mountains with only magical beasts and Olympia around. This is the first time Yuki has heard of such things. He didn't know his master was thinking about those kinds of things. Akino returns with tea, and this time she tells him that their handyman service gets all kinds of requests, from roof repairs to mediating marital disputes and mine tours to cleaning up miasma accumulations. Oh, now that perks up Yuki's interest. If he helps out with various tasks here, then he might find a way to restore the mountains of Athos from the miasma. Peter-san asks our little hero if he's willing to help out, and of course, Yuki is down. He promises to do his best, so he asks them to let him learn various things. The father-daughter duo smiles at him, with Peter-san saying he looks forward to working with him. Peter-san thinks that those two have become close again lately, leaving Yuki confused. Huh? The older man provides more context, relaying how, ever since the miasma spread, Lucy and Olympia haven't been together much. But in the letters Lucy sent to him in the past few years since Yuki arrived, they seem to be getting along well. Peter-san believes Yuki must have reconnected their bond. Oh, Yuki never even knew that. To him, those two are his special pride-worthy parents who raised him. That's why he wants to find a way to eliminate the miasma, for his parents' sake. He believes that if he can find a way to do that, then his parents will be really happy. Both Peter-san and Akino are moved by the boy's dream, so the older man says it's better if they can work hard together from here on out. Peter-san was about to say something when suddenly they heard knocking, and not a moment later the door to the shop burst open. An old man comes in, claiming he has terrible news. The three of them stare at the customer, with the latter saying his house has turned into a monster. With that said, he'd like to request their help. Yuki hasn't been around for an hour, and he already has a job request? Yuki and Akino stand before an imposing manor, miasma reeking all around the structure. So this is the infamous mansion, the little guy thought to himself. For Hilk's sake, they have to do something. Flashback to moments before, a customer bursts through Peter-san's shop saying his house has turned into a monster mansion, which is why he'd like to request their help. Did Yuki hear that right? Monster mansion? Peter-san urges the man to calm down and to tell them what happened. The latter begins by saying that the mansion he's managing has become a miasma reservoir. Yuki looks up to Peter-san, not knowing what the man said. So the older man explains that it's where the negative energy, or miasma, released by the demon lord accumulates in place. The gentleman continues that the previous tenant of the mansion ran away in the night. For his part, he tries to clean the mansion whenever he has time between work. But before he knew it, magical beasts had gotten inside, and the furniture had already turned into monsters. Peter-san feels bad for the gentleman, with the latter acknowledging that it might be quicker if he just burns it all down. But then again, his father left him that house, and it's where he was born and raised. There are so many memories attached to that house. Peter-san nods, knowing that there's sentimental value to the house. He turns to Yuki and asks if he can help with this for his first request. Me? Our hero replies. Peter-san explains that right now Akino is handling most of the practical work, so he'd like him to support her. So basically, Yuki is going to learn the ropes literally on the job. Well, Yuki did say that he was going to help, but given the circumstances, wouldn't he just make them worried? Peter-san seems to be forgetting that our hero is still only 6 years old. But since Yuki has been asked to do it, of course, he has no choice but to do it. So now back to the present. Yuki asks Akino what they need to do in a miasma reservoir. She starts chuckling, and a moment later she's already in full cleanup getup. All they need to do is a big cleanup. She ties a handkerchief over his face to keep the dust off while enumerating the things they need to do. Akino says they need to improve ventilation and to defeat magical beasts, whose ecology has changed due to miasma. That also includes monsters that have transformed inanimate objects. If they do all of that, then that will solve the miasma reservoir problem. So, according to Hilk, the gentleman from before, the magical beasts are only about the size of insects. Even though this is a mild case, Aino says staying in a miasma reservoir for too long can cause miasma sickness, so they need to move quickly. Yuki understands and adjusts his mask as they finally enter the mansion. He runs ahead, thinking that this looks like something even he can do. The first thing he does is open the windows to let some air inside the building. Soon after, both he and Akino start wiping the surfaces while Pochi squashes the magical beasts with his paws. The three work together diligently, and before long, this area is spotless. Yuki wipes off his sweat, pleased to see that their hard work paid off. As they turn their attention to the next area of the room down the hall, Yuki hears a scream from the inside. Wait, he knows that voice. Our little hero runs straight to the room down the hall, telling Akino that he's going to check it out since he heard a scream. Just then, he sees two people running off, wearing dress robes. He overhears one of them saying they should leave that noble behind, prompting Yuki to wonder if someone is left inside the back room. Akino does her best to catch up to him, telling Yuki not to go off on his own since the miasma is thicker over there. But Yuki already has his hand on the handle and opens the door. What welcomes them is the sight of multiple flying books. Is this the haunted castle from Beauty and the Beast? What is this place? By this time, Akino has finally caught up with him. She explains that those are book monsters since libraries tend to become miasma reservoirs easily. Akino already expected that they would encounter beings like these, but this is beyond what she imagined. She needs to consult this with her dad first, but suddenly she bows out and almost folds over. Is she getting miasma sickness? Yuki hurries further into the room, thinking they need to find the remaining person and get out of here quickly. He looks around in a hurry when he hears a certain grunt in one corner. It's Sakura! Girl, you again? And the animated books are attacking her. One of them flies straight over to her face, and Yuki has to act fast. He apologizes for going against his master's instructions, but he needs to do something a bit reckless. He fights off the flying books, and as three more fly straight to him, he kicks them off, causing the books to hit the shelf. He uses some of the books as stepping stones and leaps high in the air to smash the last book that was about to attack Sakura. He calls Sakura and asks if she's alright. She stares at him for a beat longer before taking his hand. He tells her that it's too dangerous to stay here, so they should get out now, just as Akino rushes over to them. The three of them head outside, where they all finally breathe freely. Finally, they're saved. Yuki is just happy that everything worked out somehow, but Akino is curious. Is Yuki really okay with miasma sickness? The little man says he's fine, but now that he thinks about it, he's not affected by miasma sickness, making him wonder why. The three of them make their way back to the shop since Akino needs to report this to her dad. This is a higher than expected miasma level on their end. As soon as they reached home, Yuki quickly relayed everything to Peter-san while Sakura healed Akino. After a minute, Akino feels a lot better now, thanking Sakura for sharing her mana with her. Sakura feels embarrassed, saying this is the least she could do. Yuki asks Sakura why she was in that mansion, and from what he saw, there were others there besides her. She got quiet before telling him that those were her seniors from the Order. She says her seniors came to capture magical beasts and monsters, but they didn't expect the monsters to be so powerful. The thing about monsters is that they are attracted to strong magical power, and Sakura, who has a pretty large mana capacity, acted as bait. Wait, all of this just makes Yuki confused. They went there to capture monsters, and Sakura had to act as bait? Sakura smiles, happy that the others managed to escape. Who knew trash like her could be useful too? There she goes again with her self-deprecatory talk. Both Yuki and Peter-san were taken aback, wondering just how the hell she ended up with that kind of logic. Akino chimes in that to become a saint, you need to pay an enormous offering to the Museon Order. From what she heard, trainees like Sakura have to engage in other activities on top of being a saint. Peter-san adds that magical beasts and monsters can fetch a good price in the black market, with Sakura and the others fully aware of that. Even though she knows it's wrong, this is all she can do. You see, Sakura was born as the seventh daughter of the Halcyon family, a minor noble house. Despite being nobles, their family was far from wealthy. Since Sakura has a large mana capacity, she joined the Order to help with the family finances. If she could become a saint, even a useless person like her could heal illnesses and injuries or even purify miasma. Her voice starts to break as she shares how she thought she could be useful to people. Yuki assures her that it's okay, so Sakura continues to open up to them. She says she couldn't even meet the quota for offerings, and she has been using up the farewell gift her parents gave her to pay the offerings, but that has run out now too. Yuki feels bad for her, but that's not even the worst of it. Peter-san has heard a rumor that if you can't pay the offerings, you'll spend your whole life as a trainee in the Order, even after becoming a saint. In fact, some citizens even see the Order's trainees as servants of the town. Now Yuki really feels sorry for her. For Sakura, someone like her who has less value than the dust accumulated in the crevices of these stairs, and whose only redeeming quality is being stubborn, she feels indebted to their kindness. And there's the fact that Yuki even saved someone useless like her. This made her truly happy. Our little man clenches his fist. He's had enough. He tells Sakura that she's not useless at all. Yuki tells her that she's a kind person, remembering how she stayed with him the whole time when he had just arrived in town and didn't know left from right. Plus, at the mansion, he knows she bought time so her seniors could escape, right? Yuki tells her that Sakura, who can act for the sake of others, is truly a wonderful person. Her eyes widened upon hearing such kind words, while Yuki continued that she shouldn't say such horrible things about herself. Now Sakura is really crying. Fat tears roll down her face, but yes, she understands what Yuki is saying, while our little hero comforts her. He knows escaping into thoughts of someone like me is pretty easy and comfortable. He knows full well because that's how he used to be. He tells her again that she is a good person, so Sakura can't help but cry harder as she thanks him. Now then, all this open forum just made Yuki wonder if there's anything he can do. Wait, that's it. He walks over to Peter-san and asks in hushed tones if they could have Sakura help them with cleaning the mansion so she can regain her confidence. Peter-san breaks into a smile. Since Sakura has a large mana capacity, he thinks she might be able to help complete their request. Peter-san approaches Sakura asking if she would be willing to help clean the mansion with Yuki and Akino. He slides a coin toward her, saying they'll pay her a reward. Sakura was about to say something negative about herself again, but she shoved that idea aside. She's more than happy to help. Now at least their group has finally come to an understanding. So now Yuki, Pochi, Akino, and Sakura get ready and head straight to the haunted mansion. The next day, the gang is back at the Hilk mansion, and this time Akino tells them that they should clean efficiently. They'll start with the room in the back where the miasma is the thickest. Yuki has been wondering about it since last time, so he asks Akino what those glasses are that she's wearing. She answers that the specs are tools that help her visualize miasma. By wearing those, she won't even miss the tiniest hint of miasma. As she puts it on, she finds it strange that little Yuki has some kind of barrier surrounding him. From the looks of it, it seems that the miasma around Yuki is being purified. Now that she said that, Sakura chimes in and says it's easier to breathe around him. Huh, that's weird. Usually purification only happens when they clean or purify with holy water. Yuki turns to Sakura to ask what holy water is, and she answers that it's a special water imbued with the power of the great spirits. Akino remembers just then that Yuki doesn't get miasma sickness either. What a mysterious child this boy is. But at the thought of great spirits and special water, all Yuki can think of is Olympia handing him those back at home. Back then he ate and drank nothing but delicious water and fruit from Olympia's place. Could that be the reason behind Yuki's immunity? Well, his recollection made his mom sneeze back at home. Bless her. Akino notices that he seems to be zoning out, so she asks if there is anything wrong. The little guy says it's nothing. With everything settled, Akino suggests they refocus and leave the place sparkling clean. The three of them wasted no time and started cleaning the rooms, except for Pochi, who was napping in bed. Pet perks. Akino had to pull the sheets to get the four-legged creature out of there, while Yuki himself was busy wiping the floors. He stops and sees that Sakura is doing the same. There's a certain glow about her at how she's doing her best. He can see how she's working so hard, nodding to himself at how diligent and good a person she is. Glad that he invited her. Just then, Sakura halts and feels her skin crawl. She quickly yells for Yuki to watch out as a spider runs toward him. The latter easily swats the creature away, leaving both Sakura and Akino to stop cleaning abruptly. No way, did he just swat away a magical beast with his bare hands? To this, our little hero points out that the spiders in the mountains are much bigger, but that's not their point. The idea of mere spiders is enough to make Akino dizzy. Oh wait, it's the miasma doing that. Sakura shares her mana with her to ease the former's miasma sickness, something Akino is thankful for. Even Akino is glad that Sakura came with them. As usual, Sakura tries to downplay it, but Akino refuses to hear any of that. Yuki watches them with a smile, and once Akino is feeling better, she tells them that they should start cleaning the remaining rooms. Soon, they're faced with the toughest adversary yet. Akino and Sakura look up to the last challenge, the chandelier at the entrance. Now how should they proceed with this? Before they can rack their brains, Yuki is already leaping high in the air. "I'll go," he says. The little man nimbly climbs the lighting fixture and swats the spiders with his feather duster. He then proceeds to swing the chandelier in an attempt to shake off the remaining spiders. Akino and Sakura watch in awe as Yuki does everything on his own. Akino can't help but comment to Pochi on how amazing his master is. The pup barks in reply as if agreeing to what she said. Yuki finally manages to lower the chandelier, and this time, all three of them start wiping it down. With the chandelier marked clean, the three of them celebrate because the cleaning is complete. They head back to the shop where Hilk thanks them for their efforts. He knows for sure that his late parents would be pleased with how thoroughly they cleansed it. Akino gives him last-minute instructions, hoping that he won't let it get abandoned again, despite various reasons. Hilk can only laugh, embarrassed at neglecting the mansion in the first place. Hilk hands the payment to Peter-san, with the latter thanking him for it. With that, Hilk takes his leave and heads home. Once he's gone, Yuki turns to Sakura. "Hilk seemed happy, didn't he?" he asks her. She says he is, which makes her glad. Peter-san holds 2 money bags and hands Sakura and Yuki their respective payments. For Yuki, the older man deducted 10% for rent and food expenses, informing him that Lucy asked him to teach the little guy about money management. With that said, he asks the boy to try and manage the rest of his money by himself. But Yuki is just happy that he got paid. He didn't expect to experience it so soon. Peter-san opens Sakura's money bag, asking her if this amount is enough to cover her offering. Sakura grabs the payment to her chest because this is more than enough. She thanks Peter-san, while the older man tells him that he has reported to the Museon Order that she single-handedly completed the miasma purification at the Hilk Mansion. Sakura's eyes almost bulged out of shock from hearing that before muttering about how she only helped everyone. Peter-san tells her then that Peter's handyman service is just an unofficial odd jobs business. They don't need accomplishment for themselves. With that said, they're already satisfied if they can solve the problems of those who rely on them. So if they say that Sakura solved it this time, Peter-san says it would help them out. Isn't that right, Yuki? With the little hero nodding in agreement to everything Peter-san said, Sakura is still hesitant, but that's when Peter-san says he also has a request from her. If she's okay with it, would she like to help them out in the future occasionally? Akino points out that the reason they were able to finish the recent request is that Sakura was there. Yuki chimes in, thanking her and saying she was a big help. Upon hearing such words, Sakura can't help but get teary-eyed again. She has never felt so needed before. She should be the one thanking them, and with that, she adds that she's already looking forward to working with them. Akino shushes her to get her to stop crying, but Sakura, being Sakura, takes a little while for her to do so. The next day, Yuki is out by himself with Pochi. He looks around wondering what he should get when something catches his eye. Oh, there's a pair of mechanical dolls that dance when they collect sunlight. Yuki approaches the stall, admiring how the Avanium fragments shine beautifully. Seeing these dolls reminds him of his moms, Olympia and Lucy. Okay, it's decided. Yuki tells the older lady that he'll buy the dolls. The older lady wraps them up and thanks him for his purchase. Yuko hugs the dolls tightly, happy with the present he bought with his first paycheck. Now it got him wondering if his mom and Lucy will like it. Just then, Akino spots him from a few feet away. She walks over to him, asking if the little guy found something good. Yuki says he did, but Pochi barks at him. The latter's attention already turned sideways. Before long, Yuki also sniffs the air as he finally smells the waft that Pochi must have smelled a moment ago. What is that? It smells so good that he can't help but be hungry. Akino points to a grilled meat stand not far from where they are. It's a fresh, bone-in meat grilled to perfection. Akino has an idea. To celebrate Yuki's first job and coming to town, why don't they splurge on a big one? Before he can answer, she runs off to the meat stall to buy the goods. You see, since coming to this world, his mom Olympia's fruits have been the most delicious so far. Everything else has been unsalted dried meat, bone soup, or dusty bread. It's either too salty or too bland, and if he's being honest, none of it was tasty. So this will be his first non-dried meat in this world, and it's bone-in meat to boot. Yuki's mouth salivates at the mere thought of this. Before long, Akino rushes over to where he sits and hands a giant bone to the puppy. Then she hands a drumstick to Yuki, with the latter staring at the food. Akino urges her to eat it while it's still hot, so the three of them start munching together. Yuki tells her that it's delicious, but in his mind, it's smaller than he expected. As if she read his thought, Akino explains that fresh meat is hard to come by, and it's difficult to raise animals and plants because of the miasma. Yuki whips his head, surprised at this new piece of information. Akino adds that unless it's a good place with good wind, it quickly becomes a miasma reservoir. But when the miasma clears, they can go and buy lots more. Yuki promises to work hard until the miasma clears. So now that he knows this, he continues to eat his food more gratefully. And hey, at least it's not very salty. While the two of them are still seated, Yuki overhears two ladies talking about how a noble lady purified a miasma reservoir. He notices that these girls wear the same clothes as Sakura, so they must be Museon Order trainee saints. The first girl goes on about how the branch manager was in a good mood with the report in hand. Her companion sighs, thinking that they shouldn't have left her behind had they known that it was a pretty easy service. Well, the first one says it can't be helped, plus there wasn't anything valuable and the miasma was thick too. Her companion sighs again, wondering how she managed with all those magical beasts and monsters. They think the girl in question must have used her noble connections and had someone else do it. With that, they muse about how nice it must be to be a noble with a family name. Yuki's eyebrows furrow at the two. He's heard enough and is pissed off because he thinks that conversation was about Sakura. It's good that Sakura's work was reported to the Order, but being envied just because she's from a noble family is such a nasty predicament. Pochi senses his displeasure, so Yuki can't help but cuddle his furry friend to feel better. It's not fair because Sakura is working so hard. He looks up to the sky, wondering if there's a way for her to be evaluated more fairly. Meanwhile, back at home, Olympia stares at her reflection in the water. Lucy calls her out, asking the former how long she plans on doing that. Without prying her eyes away from the water, Olympia answers that she thought she would be able to see Yuki, so she plans on using the spirit's far-seeing mirror? Lucy points out that miasma is everywhere and that there are no water sources with spirits. Olympia's face falls. She knows that, and that the water sources with holy water are monopolized by that whatchamacallit order. Oh, she means the Museon Order. Olympia continues to lament over Yuki, just as Lucy turns and says she'll head out for a bit. That catches Olympia by surprise, and she asks her where she's headed off to. Lucy says she'll check on Yuki's situation, and there's something else she's also curious about too. A carriage makes its way slowly through the road, and inside this carriage are little Yuki and Pochi, leaning over to gaze at the scenery. This is much different from when they first came to Twilight. Pochi barks in agreement. Peter-san drives the carriage and informs them that they're getting closer. He asks Sakura to explain the request to everyone right before they reach the village. The latter clears her throat and begins to explain their current assistance mission right before they reach Tuka Village. According to reports, it seems a miasma reservoir has formed in the mountain adjacent to their destination, which is Tuka Village. As a result, a large number of ferocious red fang boats have appeared. From what she heard, several skilled individuals who have returned home are somehow managing to drive the boars back, but these people have reached their limit in dealing with them. With that said, a request was sent from Twilight to the Order. But Yuki is more curious to know if this is the kind of work Sakura and her group do. She tells him that it is not. What they will be doing is creating protective fences to guard the fields, not exterminating magical beasts. She smiles, saying they're just the initial temporary measure. From what she heard, Twilight is arranging for beast hunters to deal with the magical beasts. This time it's Akino who explains that in this area, hunters who can handle red fang boars and have been active since the Demon Lord era would be the Brooks hunting party, right? Yuki and Pochi listen intently. while Sakura beams since it's a well-known fact that Brooks fought alongside the legendary Granada squad that defeated the Demon Lord. While it's overshadowed by Granadas's legend, like the defeat of Fenrir, his valor is renowned across nations and throughout the world. Yuki's eyes light up, hoping they can meet him during this mission. Unlike him, Pochi has a scowl on his face. Of course he does. He's Fenrir after all. He must still be sore from losing against Granadas. But Yuki is still busy daydreaming about Lord Granadas, wondering if they would get to meet him as well. Anyway, since this is a request from Sakura, she'll have a portion of Twilight's donation to the order paid to them. She feels so happy because finally she can repay everyone. Yuki smiles too, pleased at her improved attitude. Just then, Peter-san tells them that he can already see Tuka village, but what's that? Something's rushing straight to them. It's a horde of red fang boars. Pochi leaps out of the carriage and runs ahead. Yuki couldn't do anything about him while Sakura worries because it's dangerous for him. Or is it because a moment later they witness how savage Pochi can really be? Peter-san stops the carriage, so Yuki disembarks and runs to his pet. Pochi barks proudly at the pile of knocked-out red fang boars before them. The three can't believe a puppy did that. Meanwhile, Yuki is busy showering Pochi with cuddles. That's a good boy. Just then, Yuki hears something and looks over to see someone struggling with another red fang boar. Oh no, there's one left, this is bad. Meanwhile, the man fighting the boar manages to hold the creature back with a grab hoe, pushing fervently against it. Yuki rushes over to them, and in one swift move he kicks the boar off the man. Instant KO! Yuki turns to ask if the man is alright, but he stops mid-sentence once he sees who it is. It's that baldy Mighty from before. Mighty glares at Yuki, remembering that he was the brat from before. Just then, the townspeople hurried over to them, asking Mighty if he was okay. Suddenly, Mighty is all gallant as he waves back to them, assuring them he's okay. He even tells them to step back since it's dangerous. The townsfolk are still worried, but Mighty really insists that he's okay. As soon as he turns to Yuki, Mighty's familiar glare returns, warning the little man not to tell anyone about what happened to Twilight. So, why are you in this village? Mighty asks Yuki. Before our hero can answer, Akino cuts in on their conversation. Exasperation laced in her voice as she asks them if they really need this. Based on what just happened, it looks like Yuki and Pochi are enough for this request. It was Peter-san who answered, saying the need to make sure the people of Tuka village can manage on their own or else it's pointless. With that said, he suggests they set up the fence. At that, Mighty had to ask them, they're not the beast hunters, are they? They're just a bunch of women, a kid and an old man. One of the village elders tries to call Mighty, highlighting that he's pretty reliable. But since the group has come all of this way, they might as well let them do their work. Peter-san asks Mighty if they were the ones who had been driving away the red fang boars until now. With a huff, Mighty says that's right. He got fired from his job in Twilight and came back to the countryside, only to find this mess. But it's a good thing that he came back, huh? Yuki is quiet, but his face says it all. What job in Twilight was Mighty even talking about? Did he mean the robbery? A carriage careens to a stop just a few feet from them, and out comes Stink and Abel rushing toward him. Abel is already glaring at Mighty, while Stinky is just happy that his companion made it back to the village. Mighty turns to Abel and looks at the latter in worry. Then unexpectedly, he starts throwing a tantrum. What do you want now? I'm fired, aren't I? He asks Abel, but the latter just tells him not to act on his own. Just then, the villagers ask if the two are also Mighty's friends. The latter panics and makes up an excuse, saying the two are just his former co-workers. They crowd around Mighty and the other two, while Yuki watches from the back, distressed at how things are getting complicated. At times like this, he thinks it's best to ask Peter. And God's timing worked again because the people finally noticed Yuki's boss. Could you be the famous mining lord, Peter? They ask him. So yeah, on one side there's a group of adults clamoring around Peter-san, while another is on to them. Since Yuki is a child, he's been given the privilege to ignore the adult atmosphere. He decided that the only one who can settle this situation is him. Excuse me, he calls out to them, immediately making everyone turn to him. Yuki asks what's going on and to let him handle the situation, while Pochi barks in support from behind him. Somewhere else in the village, Abel lectures Mighty and explains their job. You see, what they do is borrow a bit of travel money or food from wealthy-looking travelers. They don't strip unconscious Musean Order trainees of everything they own. He warns Mighty never to harbor such ideas again and pulls his shirt. If he understands that, then he should apologize to Sakura. Mighty does as Abel instructed, saying it won't happen again. But Sakura says he doesn't have to. Besides, she doesn't remember it anyway, and it led to Yuki saving her, so she's actually pretty grateful. Abel can't believe his ears. He had to tell her right then and there that that's not something to be grateful for. Akino agrees pickpocketing and robbery are obviously wrong, as she tells them outright that they should work honestly. Anyway, back to business. Mighty asks if these earnest young ladies are going to help with the red fang boar problem. Akino explains that it will be difficult to exterminate the boars, but they'll set up traps to keep them from entering the fields. Peter-san unrolls the item he was holding, explaining that this net trap emits light and waves that red fang boars dislike when triggered by vibrations, and that it uses Evonium scrap stones. Mighty grabs the net, asking if this thing can really defeat the red fang boars when Peter-san warns him to watch out. Too late. Mighty gets zapped by the net. The townsfolk are impressed. Even Abel had to move closer to assess what happened to Mighty. Akino proudly says she learned this method from Yuki. At the mention of our golden boy, everyone turns to look at him. No way. This boy thought of that? They can't believe how brilliant he is. How did he come up with this and manage to make it? But that's what they would expect from someone brought by the Museon Order's top-notch trainee. The townsfolk crowd around them, singing praises to both Yuki and Sakura. In his previous life, Yuki's grandfather in the countryside used electric fences, so he just mentioned that to them. It was Akino who figured out the mechanism. Speaking of Akino, she suggests they start setting the traps right away now that they have seen how effective the traps are. The people of Tuka village quickly got to work, hauling logs to serve as posts that connect the nets. While Yuki is busy securing the nets, Pochi is busy burying his meat bone. Everyone did their part, even Mighty, who was busy hammering a log in place. Sakura notices him and approaches the older man, commending him for a job well done. Her sudden appearance startled her, but Sakura already got to work and shared her mana with him. Oh, what's this? He feels so energized. Sakura is just glad and praises him for working so hard. At that, the older man asks if she's not afraid of them. After all, they did try to strip her of everything. Sakura points out that they didn't actually push through with that, did they? And they won't do it again, right? That's why she's not afraid of them. Mighty thinks Sakura will become a fine saint, seeing how kind she is. Sakura brushes the compliment off, but she promises to work even harder to become one. While the two are conversing, Abel watches them from a few feet away. Okay, Mighty thinks they should work through the night and get everything finished quickly so everyone can feel safe. He volunteers their group to keep watch and light fires, but Yuki stops him. Our little hero thinks it's better to sleep properly at night because if they light fires, it will wake up the magical beasts, and they'll gather here. After pondering for a bit, Mighty decides to follow Yuki's suggestion. He yells for everyone to wrap it up and continue work tomorrow. As for Yuki, Mighty says that they'll make sure no light leaks towards the mountains at night. For the first time, Mighty flashes a genuine smile at our hero, amazed at him. You really know a lot about the mountains, the older man says. Yuki grins in reply, saying that it's because he grew up in the mountains. Later that night, everyone gathered in their large shared tent. Yuki sits with Pochi on the side when Abel approaches and asks if he can sit with the little guy. The latter didn't beat around the bush and apologized to Yuki for what happened back then. He also thanks the golden boy for helping them out this time. It's also thanks to Yuki that he's now able to make up his mind. Yuki asks what he's referring to, and Abel says that he's going to leave them here. Why? Abel starts to remove his eye patch, saying he has his reasons. He shows his other eye to Yuki, saying this eye of his is special. It allows him to see people's abilities. Right now, multiple orbs surround Yuki and Abel's eye, and the same can be said for both Mighty and Stinky. Speaking of the two, Abel said that the two of them will be fine without him around now. He stands, saying this is also thanks to Yuki, and leaves our hero by himself. Is this another one of those adult circumstances, Yuki wonders? The next day, Mighty asks Abel if something's the matter. The latter tells them that this is where they part ways, leaving Mighty and Stinky shocked. They run after Abel, grabbing his arm, and are rattled at this sudden separation. What's going on? Aren't they comrades? Abel answers that those are things of the past. Besides, they have an important place to belong to now. He knows that the two look like they're having more fun and are more relaxed in the village compared to when they were working together in the city. Abel boards the carriage, telling them that they should live honestly. Stinky tries to appeal to him, urging him to come live with them too. Abel says he has nowhere to return to, and unlike him, they both have this place to come back to. With that said, he urges them to use their skills for their hometown. The carriage moves along, leaving Mighty and Stinky standing motionless while Yuki and Pochi watch this all unfold. Mighty and Stinky watch as the carriage drives further away. Just like that, Abel is gone. The two talk in a quiet voice, but suddenly they laugh it off. They can't believe they just let the kids see an embarrassing side to them. Yuki panics and can only stutter, because what can you say in a situation like this? Mighty walks over to Yuki and pats his head, saying they get it. The two are in a good mood, saying they'll just do what they can now so that the next time they meet, the three of them can be together again. Well, nothing is more important than now. Mighty tells Yuki that they'll continue setting up the traps from yesterday after breakfast. Yuki puts Pochi down and asks his pet if they should head out too. The latter barks, but before they can do so, Akino comes running toward him. Yuki greets her and Peter-san with a good morning, which the two do as well. They have a problem. They can't find Sakura. What? Akino explains that she shared a room with her at the inn they stayed at last night. But when Akino woke up this morning, Sakura was no longer in bed. so naturally Akino thought that she must have set off early. But then Peter-san found Sakura's staff. She left it behind. Peter-san knows this is something important to Sakura, so she wouldn't just leave it lying around. Peter-san and Akino tried calling out to her, but no matter how much they did, they couldn't find Sakura. Akino knows Sakura is a serious girl, so she doesn't think the latter would abandon her work and go home. This led them to consider the possibility that she had been attacked by a magical beast. Yuki worries for their missing friend, but what's even more concerning is that he really has a bad feeling about this. Flashback to a few hours earlier. Sakura got up earlier than usual. She's still sleepy, then slaps her face awake. No, I must stay focused, Sakura tells herself. For the sake of the people of Tuka village, she vows to do her best again today. That's when she heard footsteps approaching her. Huh? She asks the person who he is, and the older gentleman replies with a question. Is she the Museon trainee? Sakura says that she is and introduces herself. She walks ahead, assuming that this older gentleman must be here to exterminate the magical beasts, right? If that is so, then she should introduce him to the villagers. But the older man told her that it won't be necessary. Sakura turns just in time for the older man to sock her. Before she lost consciousness, she heard him say the planned made-up story. The overzealous trainee recklessly entered the mountain, carelessly provoked the magical beasts, and ended up destroying the village. Sakura is confused. What does this mean? She also heard the older man apologize to her, saying the employers gave him this script. As he carries her over his shoulder, Sakura calls out to Yuki for help in her mind. Back to the present, Akino and the others call out to Sakura. Pochi stands on guard, prompting Yuki to ask if his furry friend can smell Sakura, and the latter barks in reply. The villagers call out to Sakura. Still when Stinky spots smoke coming out of the mountains. Huh? What's that? Mighty asks his friend if he found something when he too sees the smoke coming up from the mountains. Oh no, this is bad. There's smoke coming from the mountain, it's a forest fire. Yuki can't believe it. Why now of all times? Is it really a forest fire? No, Yuki knows that's not the smoke color of the forest fire. He remembers Lucy's teaching back then, explaining how there's a certain tactic used to lure out hidden magical beasts with smoke they dislike. With that said, she tells Yuki to follow a certain rule, never use it near populated areas. Yuki quickly tells the others that it's a smokeout. He quickly explains that it's the thing that drives the magical beast out of the mountains. Following that, the magical beast will come down from the mountain. What kind of idiot is using that? Mighty proclaims angrily. Yuki has no idea, but he warns that the magical beasts will come down from the mountain soon. Can they reinforce the traps and fences now? Akino says they should, since it's much better than not doing anything. Peter-san leads the people, telling them to stay calm and head to the opposite side of the village. He tells them to evacuate the children, while Mighty rounds up the men, saying they should buy time for everyone to escape. With everyone doing their thing, Yuki is stuck in place, wondering what to do. What will his master do? Pochi barks to get his attention, and for some strange reason, Yuki feels something is flowing directly into his head. Can I get serious? He hears a voice ask him. Huh? Is this Pochi's voice? Of course. Yuki permits his pet to go all out. Suddenly a white light envelops Pochi, and the next thing he knows, Yuki's pet is back to his original form. Pochi grabs Yuki by the scruff of his neck and hauls him in the air, with Yuki landing on his back. Our little hero asks if his pet wants him to hold on, and Pochi barks again to affirm before howling. Meanwhile, at the other end of the village, Mighty and the other men brace themselves as they see a horde of red-fang boars coming down. Pochi's howl cuts through the noise, and somewhere in the forest a pack of black wolves hears his call. Yuki is confused. What just happened? He sees a cloud of dust from the other end of the village as seen by the townsfolk. Oh no, they're black wolves. Why did they have to appear now of all times? The villagers brace themselves for the wolves' attack, but to their surprise the creatures just run past them. Huh, what's going on? The black wolves are attacking the red-fang boars. Yuki asks Pochi if that was his doing, and the latter barks. Mighty appears, shocked to see the white wolf. He didn't expect the kid to actually be a magical beast tamer. Well, Yuki can't exactly explain the situation when Pochi suddenly looks down and barks again. Our little hero asks his pet if he can take him to where Sakura is, but he worries, hesitant to leave the village as it is. Mighty assures them that thanks to the black wolves they'll be fine. They'll take care of the village, so Yuki should go and find Sakura. Yuki feels relieved, so with that, he's off. Pochi leaps high in the air over the townsfolk and almost falls off of Fenrir's back with how fast the creature is going. Yuki asks Pochi if Sakura is this way, and the latter barks in affirmation. Our little hero can only hope that his friend is safe. After running for a bit, Pochi starts huffing, finding it hard to breathe. The smoke from the smokeout has gotten so thick that Yuki's nose is starting to get affected. What more for Pochi, who has been breathing it all this time? Even for the king of magical beasts, this is too much, huh? Yuki gets down from Pochi, asking his pet if Sakura is nearby. The latter motions that she is, so Yuki hurries off and tells Pochi to stay there. He calls out Sakura's name, asking where she is. Just then he hears a groan from the shrubs, and there she is. He found her. Yuki shakes her, asking if she's okay. Hang in there. To his surprise, a few men approach him. Even they're surprised since they didn't expect to see a brat out here. Yuki wonders who these people are, but no matter, he has a bad feeling about them. Our hero tells them that Sakura is his friend, causing the men to roar in laughter. The trainee is his friend? So he came looking for his friend? All of a sudden, the older man draws his fist ready to punch Yuki unconscious, but our hero evades it easily. He slides out of the way and evades every single attempt the men make to try and catch him. Yuki jumps over and kicks them, and as soon as he lands, he puts Sakura's arm over his shoulder. As the two try to escape, the older gentleman from before appears, asking what's going on. Yuki feels something heavy, just as the older man calls out to him, asking for an explanation. Yuki senses how dangerous this man is, so he puts more pressure on his feet, thinking that they need to run for real. The older man sighs and scratches his head at what Yuki just did. After running for a bit with Sakura clinging to him, Yuki wonders if they managed to escape. Too bad the older gentleman was also there and knocked Yuki to the ground. Well, he's going to have to give credit where credit is due. He didn't expect the boy to make a fool out of his underlings. But he has a job to do and he intends to take that young lady with him. Yuki gets up and stands his ground. He doesn't know what he and his men are trying to do, but Sakura is his friend and he refuses to let the older man take her. Our little hero stands between the older man and Sakura, making the former sigh. The man balls his fist again, saying Yuki is interesting, but he thinks it's time for our hero to fall asleep. Yuki braces himself for the hit, but to his surprise it never comes. Someone held the older man's wrist in place, and when Yuki opened his eyes, his master was standing in front of him. Lucy is pleased to see that Yuki is doing well, swatting the older man's hand away as she said so. Lucy briefly turns to Yuki, happy to see that the boy has been doing well. Our little hero, on the other hand, is both surprised and pleased to see his master. Lucy turns her attention back to Brooks. The latter is shocked. He didn't expect to actually see Lucy Granadas here of all places. Wait, did Yuki hear that right? And these two know each other? Lucy is not pleased to see a grown man raising his hand against a child because if anything, it just proves that he's a real scumbag. For that matter, Lucy can't leave him alone anymore. While the adults are having a serious talk, there's Yuki, fawning over the fact that his master is actually the legendary hero Granadas. His master tells him to step back with Sakura for a bit since it's dangerous. Yuki did as he was told, pulling his friend to safety so they wouldn't get in Lucy's way. Once Lucy sees that they're at a safe distance, she turns to Brooks. She's disappointed because he hasn't changed at all. It's already reached her ears that he's been called the mercenary knight and whatnot, but ultimately he's still just a pathetic man desperate to make himself big. Obviously what she said hit a nerve and got Brooks all riled up. The older man insists that he survived that era because he's strong, and that's also why he managed to reach where he is now. She disagrees, saying that the truly strong ones died during the Demon Lord's era. Just thinking about it made her remember how, when she finally cut down the Demon Lord, her comrades had all fallen and were no longer with her. Back to the present, Lucy continues, saying how she has heard rumors about their lot, how they were teaming up with beast hunters and extorting money from people. So what are they up to this time? Did Brooks actually take money to bully a Muse on order trainee? Again, Lucy hit a nerve with that accusation, so it must be true, no? He goes off about how it's finally his time to shine, especially since Lucy retired and disappeared from the public eye. This time it was supposed to be Brooks' turn, so Lucy should just stay out of it and hide in the shadows forever. As he said so, Brooks grabbed his sword and took a swing at Lucy. She faced him head-on and easily evaded his attack before brandishing her own blade. Brooks then swung back, but she still evaded it. With Brooks continuously taking a swing, Lucy finally sees an opening and goes for it, hitting Brooks right in the gut. The latter collapses on the ground while Lucy stands by. From where he's hiding, Yuki is impressed at how stupidly strong his master is. Wait, now that he thinks about it, his master took out that pack of ice wolves in one hit too. Looking back, that was no ordinary feat. Brooks is still slumped on the ground, glaring at Lucy from below. The latter, on the other hand, tells him that there's no such thing as a public or hidden stage. She asks him a rhetorical question. Is living by sucking up to others the only strong way to live? Without waiting for his answer, she turns away and tells him not to show such a pathetic sight to children. Lucy walks over to where Yuki and an unconscious Sakura are. She smiles and tells him they should head home. Cut to the next scene, back at Tuka Village. Mighty smacks one of the fang boars head on. Finally, that was the last one, as the other villagers cheered. That is, until Stinky comes running with the real final boar chasing after him. This time, Akina calls him over to lead the boar to where she's standing with Peter-san. Stinky makes a dash for it, and as soon as he passes, the father-daughter duo quickly unwraps the electrical net, just in time for the monster to run into it. It left the monster electrified, soon collapsing to the ground as Akino and the others looked on. Finally, the red fang boar subjugation is complete. From a few feet away, Yuki calls out to everyone, announcing their return, with Lucy carrying Sakura on her back. Mighty and the others quickly run over to check if our little hero is okay, and that's when Yuki tells them that his master saved them. Mighty greets the latter while Peter-san's eyes widen because that's Captain Granadas. Upon hearing that, everyone is dumbfounded, like, the Captain Granadas as in the great hero? Later that night, the villagers threw a feast. the roasted one of the big boars, and had everyone celebrating. While the adults were busy having a toast and drinking, Yuki and Sakura sat together, patiently waiting for the food. Sakura breaks the silence, singing praises about how Yuki truly is her savior. Plus, she never expected that they would also be saved by the legendary granadas on the same day. Sakura has no idea how to express her heartfelt gratitude for everything, but Yuki's not too caught up in it. If anything, he's just glad that Sakura is safe, and even Pochi barks in agreement. A moment later, Akino calls out to them, saying food is ready. She brings them a plate full of roasted red fang boar. They should eat a lot because there's more where that came from. Yuki, Sakura, and even Pochi dig into their meal, with little Yuki relishing how the meat is perfectly roasted and overflowing with juices. It's delicious, though it's a bit undersalted to his liking. While enjoying this, he can't help but think about how he wants to eat something with a rich junk food-like seasoning, something with a sweet and savory flavor. He hopes that he can come across that taste while purifying the miasma in this world. Meanwhile, at Peter-san and Lucy's table, Peter-san asks what the captain thinks of his daughter Akino. At the mention of her, Lucy lights up because Akino is just like Peter. Good fortune oozes from her. Lucy even goes as far as to say that in the future she'll probably discover a big mine too and become the second-generation town founder. At the mention of town founder, Peter-san gets shy, asking not to be called that. In all honesty, the latter says he's just lucky, and this time it's all thanks to Yuki. Speaking of Yuki, just what is up with that kid? Some kind of prodigy? To be honest, even Lucy is pretty surprised at the kid herself. Until recently, she relays how Yuki was just a baby, but before she knew it, he had become extraordinary. Peter-san can relate, seeing how children do grow up pretty quickly. Well, kids topic aside, Peter-san never expected he'd be able to drink with the captain again. Lucy tells him to stop calling her that since the squad already disbanded a long time ago. While the adults were talking, Akino watched them from behind, and since she couldn't just step in, she decided to ask for Yuki's help. She hands 2 mugs of water to Yuki, telling our little hero to hand the drinks over, seeing how she can't exactly scold granadas with how she and her father are drinking too much. Little Yuki walks over to the adult and hands them their water, which the two gratefully receive. Since he's there, Lucy asks if the little hero wants to talk for a bit. Before he could answer, Lucy grabbed him and sat him on her lap. With that, she begins by explaining how Yuki has grown so much in the short time since they last saw each other. To that, the boy is not too sure if he's not doing well, though he's doing his best. Lucy assures him he's doing just fine, which is the most important thing, ruffling his hair as she says so. She also tells him that things like these might happen again in the future. Using his power for others is proof of strength, and from now on she gives him permission that when he thinks it's necessary he can fight seriously. With that, Lucy sets him right beside her, then turns her attention back to Peter-san. This time she asks how the investigation into the Musion Order is going. The latter say they've learned about the reality of the offerings to the Order through their recent dealings with Sakura. According to Peter-san, it seems the Order is extorting exorbitant amounts from trainees and lower-ranked saints, adding a considerable sum on top of the official offering amount set by the Order. Well, it's just as Lucy thought. Peter-san adds that there seem to be many who have left from other branches as well. It might even be darker than they thought. She thanks him for sharing insight, but it's no problem for him. After all, it's for the captain. No, it's for Lucy's request. Anyway, hearing the adults talk, Yuki is surprised that his master and the others have actually been investigating the Musion Order all this time. Amazing. As expected, his master and the other adults are pretty amazing. Lucy turns her attention back to Yuki and asks if he can accompany her for a little longer. Of course, it's no problem for our little hero, but what does she need her for? To that, Lucy says it's because Olympia wants to meet him, suggesting they go to the Musion Order's Twilight branch and bring Sakura with them. Yuki readily agrees, though he is a bit puzzled. The next day at the Musion Order Twilight branch, the other trainees were chattering among themselves. An older sister even tries to stop these unfamiliar visitors and the children. Lucy ignores her and strides right past her, carrying Sakura and Yuki as she goes straight to the bishop. The older man is caught by surprise, but before he could do anything, Lucy grabs him firmly by the shoulder, greeting him and asking him if she could have a moment of his time. The older man looks up to Lucy fearfully, especially since the latter wants to talk. Meanwhile, Yuki is preoccupied with the spring right beside the bishop. He doesn't understand why, but it feels so nostalgic to him. Then there's Sakura, who asks Lucy what she's planning to do. The latter smiles, then stomps her foot on the ground, the very act scaring the bishop, who takes a step back. The hero Lucy proclaims how they have all the evidence, so the older man should return the extorted offerings to the saints. Such a bold accusation. The bishop was stunned, feigning ignorance, as he asked what she was even saying. He goes on about how their work carries on the will of the lost spirits, especially since the world is now filled with miasma, because the arrogant so-called hero Granadas who defeated the demon lord disappeared. The bishop goes on, delirious, as he claims they are the light of the earth and the very will of the great spirits. Who cares about the mining lord whose whereabouts are unknown? In case anyone's not aware of it yet, the older man says it takes a lot to protect this town in his place. With all that said, the bishop kindly asks if outsiders could refrain from interfering in their matters. Lucy doesn't say anything, and during her silence they could hear the trainees talking about their lot. Did the trainee Sakura bring them in? Obviously they already have a lot of crap to say about her, going on about how she can do whatever she wants just because she's a noble. The other trainees are already discussing how someone should call out these outsiders and drive them out. With all their chattering growing louder, of course, little Yuki can hear what they're talking about, and he finds that the situation has grown dangerous. Back to the bishop. The older man questions Lucy, asking her if she really thinks the Great Spirit would allow such misconduct. Oh, so he wants to talk about great spirits, eh? Despite the underlying threat, Lucy remains unfazed, and the bishop tells them to just hurry up and get out, but he doesn't get to finish the last part. If it's the great spirits he wants, then it's the great spirits he'll get. The great hero Granadas then suggests they just do what the great spirit wants, no? Then proceeds to call out to the divine entity, leaving the bishop confused. Suddenly, the water from the fountain stirs and branches out. The trainees and everyone else cover their ears because what is that sound? Only Lucy remains standing, unfazed by what's happening. Yuki, on the other hand, enjoys the scene unraveling before him. Soon enough, a form emerges from the water, and that's when a silhouette of Olympia takes form. This water form Olympia scolds the bishop for using the name of the great spirits to satisfy their own greed. Absolutely lamentable. It's Yuki's mom. The bishop and the others quickly got to their knees, with the older man reeling from what just happened. The great spirit has descended. Since the Demon Lord era, there hasn't been even a sign like this. Olympia approaches the bishop, scorning him, while the latter begs for forgiveness. If he wants to gain the great spirit's forgiveness, Olympia suggests they seek to improve this world and show compassion to the children. On the other hand, Yuki is confused. Is that really his mom? Well, Lucy can only say that his mom insisted on seeing the boy's face. Plus, Peter had been concerned about the Order's corruption for a while now, so they decided to ask Olympia's help while they were at it. Heh, so this is just for now, huh? But if his mom's and Lucy's intervention helps Sakura and the others, then Yuki supports it fully. Just then Olympia specifically instructs the bishop to please be especially kind to her beloved child, motioning to Yuki. The bishop turns and looks at the boy puzzled, and lets out a shout. The Great Spirit actually has a beloved child? Yuki turns to see that the other trainees have their heads lowered while Olympia continues to instruct the bishop to care for her beloved child, along with that girl over there, aka Sakura, who seems to be getting along with the Great Spirit's child. Lastly, Olympia warns him that bad adults who belittle her beloved children will receive punishment from her messenger. Of course, the bishop tries to defend himself, but Olympia wishes to hear none of it, not after he put innocent people in danger. With that, she entrusts everything to Lucy, and the latter takes that as her cue to take over. Lucy puts her hand over the older man's shoulder, and since they're at it, she also wants to talk about the matter with Brooks too. Now that the matter is settled, Olympia turns to her beloved children. First, she asks for Sakura's answer, which the latter gives easily. The Great Spirit Olympia smiles as she asks her to take care of her beloved child, Yuki, from now on. Of course, Sakura gleefully agrees. If Olympia asked her to eat a brick right now, she would have done so because Sakura is fawning at the fact that the Great Spirit, the mother, is actually talking to her right now. From the back, the trainees and other members of the Musion Order bow their heads, promising to follow the will of the Great Spirit. While everybody else had their foreheads glued to the floor, Olympia took this chance to call Yuki over. She tries to brush his hair only for her hands to pass through his face. At this, Olympia makes a face, frustrated since she can't embrace him in this form after all. Yuki feels bad for her when suddenly Olympia starts throwing a tantrum about how she misses him so much and wants to see him. Her cries echo throughout the corridor. Just like that, Yuki relays the story to Peter-san and Akino once he returns to the shop. Peter-san's not too surprised given how those people haven't changed at all. In this world, they're called the Granadas Legend. It's quite talked about a lot. There's Lucy with her martial arts skills and Olympia with her spirit power. And the battle with the Demon Lord was more chaotic than one would expect. Ooh, hearing about this world where a demon world used to reside filled with magical beasts, spirits like his mom, and even people who use what's called healing power. Fascinates Yuki. Speaking of his mom, just remembering her earlier today reminds him of a fantasy-like element. It was really cool. Wait a minute, now that he remembers it, Sakura once mentioned there's a healer's technique to share mana with others, no? What's more, Sakura also told him before that he has mana too. Brimming with curiosity, he decides to voice out the question bugging his mind and asks Peter-san if there is magic in this world. Both Peter-san and Akino are surprised by his question, with the latter saying magic does exist in this world, though it's referred to as sorcery. Akino also remembers how Yuki wasn't aware of miasma sickness either. Peter-san explains that while there are individual differences in mana capacity, it's an energy that everyone possesses. Converting that mana to produce fire or manipulating phenomena like creating light is sorcery. However, Peter-san adds that using sorcery requires vast amounts of mana and rigorous training, so there are only a few people who can use it. Yuki asks if it's different from the Evanium. This time it's Akino who answers his question. For starters, she asks if he's aware that Twilight became a big city thanks to the stone Evanium that's produced here. You see, the reason Avanium is so important is that it allows people who can't use sorcery to create phenomena similar to what sorcerers can manipulate with magic. Peter-san adds that in the past sorcerers had their place, but since Avanium technology developed, their numbers decreased significantly. Now most people with mana join either the Musion Order or the Beast Hunter Guild. As such, the number of sorcerers keeps declining. Yuki thinks for a bit before asking them how he can learn to use sorcery. If there's a teacher who could teach him about this subject, Peter-san remembers a sorcerer acquaintance, but he hesitates for a bit. Wait, Akino is alarmed because is he referring to that person? Peter-san goes on about the one with the eye that sees the future. The person who predicted the Demon Lord's appearance hundreds of years ago. This person is none other than the Granada Squad's sorcerer, Lilka. Wow. Yuki is already impressed because that person foresaw it happening 100 years earlier. So is that like a long-lived race that manipulates magic like an elf or something? He's already excited to meet this person, while Peter-san only smiles. If they keep talking about her like this, then she'll probably Peter-san trails off as the ground starts shaking, causing both Akino and Yuki to cling to him. He tells them to calm down and hold on to their cups just as a magic circle appeared on the table in the ceiling. The older man explains that the table was actually a gift from Lilka when they opened their business, and it has a certain mechanism to it. Suddenly a head popped out of the table, causing both Akino and Yuki to scream in horror because who does that? The head of a girl has her eyes closed, with the two growing even more fearful. Suddenly the girl's eyes snap open, pleased to see this little boy and young lady's fearful reaction to her. While Akino clings to her dad, Peter-san greets the head, who is none other than Lilka herself. The latter finally emerges the rest of her body from the table. Peter-san asks her not to scare his daughter, but the latter laughs it off, apologizing that she only wanted to make an impression on the traveler from another world. Yuki, on the other hand, taps Lilka's leg, causing her to eye him curiously because what is this little boy doing? Our hero mutters about how he had just felt a maiden's leg. Anyway, Lilka shares that she's a bit surprised that he can interact from that side, which just shows Yuki really has magical power. She goes on about how she is indeed here but could also be said not to be here. Finally, she asks if he's the boy who wants to learn sorcery, so Yuki greets her. She is impressed because she deems the boy to have a vast mana capacity and that his soul and intelligence are sufficient too. As for what he wants to accomplish, Lilka taps Yuki's forehead with her index finger and discovers it. She nods, noting that this seems worth training for and how Yuki's current worries are quite interesting. Well, to give him a taste, she shows him this kind of sorcery. As soon as she said that, a magic circle appeared before her, and out came a bottle of soy sauce. Yuki can't believe it, a bottle of soy sauce appeared out of nowhere. The Lilka chuckles as she tells him that even sorcery can bring things from other worlds like this. Imagination and memory strong enough to withstand materialization are a must, and exactly what Yuki has. She already deems him as someone with genius-level talent. Frankly speaking, she says it will be difficult as he is now to fulfill his dreams and goals. But if he wants to learn sorcery for that dream, she suggests he visit her tower anytime. There, she will be waiting for him. Yuki, Pochi, and Lucy are now trekking the open fields, with Pochi's barks echoing across the air while our little hero does his best to catch up to him. Pochi turns and barks, and what's even more surprising is that his barks come with subtitles now. The mystical beast urges his master that they should hurry home. Yuki tells him that they're almost there and he's excited to see his mom as well. Pochi, on the other hand, is excited to see his comrades. It's been a while since they left the mountain, and now they're finally visiting home. So how did this come to be? Let's wind it back to a few days ago. Back at Peter-san's shop, Lilka appears and invites Yuki to come visit her anytime at her tower if he wishes to learn about magic. Obviously, the little guy has no idea where that was, so Peter-san informs him that she's referring to the Alberta Royal Academy, a school with a magic department. Lilka invites Yuki, saying he can learn the magic he wants to master if he goes there. Just then they hear a voice from outside the shop calling out to Peter-san. Lilka uses that as her cue to exit, saying she had just remembered something she needs to do, then proceeds to leave, but not before saying she'll send someone over later. Peter-san opens the door to see that it was Lucy on the other side. She tells him then that she already took care of everything when suddenly she feels something. She asks if Lilka was just there, remembering how the latter rarely meets with her. She asks them what the sorcerer came for, and it was Yuki who told his master that Lilka had just invited him to a magic school. At that, Lucy perks up, asking if the little hero will learn magic from Lilka. Yuki hesitates since the invite was too sudden, so to ease his worries, Lucy ruffles his hair. She tells him that he's free to do whatever he wants to do, so there's no need to hesitate. Plus, Peter-san tells him that if someone from the Royal Academy is coming, then it would take them a few days to reach here. In the meantime, Lucy suggests they head home for a little while so Yuki can think the matter over. At that suggestion, he perks up and agrees. So just like that, both the master and her student pack up and leave the shop. Before they begin their journey home, Lucy tells him that they should hurry back since Olympia is eagerly waiting for the little hero at home. Just then Pochi barks, catching Yuki's attention, and the strangest thing happened. His barks came with subtitles. Pochi was asking if they were heading back to the mountain, and if they are, it makes him happy. Yuki replies saying he's also happy, while Pochi tells him he'll run around a lot. Wait a minute, Yuki could actually understand what the mystical beast was saying. So back to the present, a dragon monster suddenly appeared on their path. Lucy quickly identifies it as an abnormal specimen of a frost dragon mimic. Instead of fighting it herself, she asks Yuki if he can handle this one and show her how much he has grown over the past 6 months. Eh? Just him? He quickly turns to Pochi, asking if the latter will help in case something happens. Of course, the mystical beast is more than happy to help his master in case something happens. Yuki unsheathes his sword, thinking about how he could easily defeat these types of monsters half a year ago. And yet he still couldn't defeat abnormal specimens, which makes him a little nervous. But no matter, he leaps high in the air, thinking that he has leveled up, so that should account for something. And it did count for something, because with one swift strike, Yuki cut down the master fairly easily. Lucy and Pochi commended him for doing a great job, but our little hero still couldn't believe what just happened. There's no way he took down that abnormal specimen so easily. Maybe it was weakened or something. Well, whatever the case may be, he's just glad he defeated it. Usually you have to destroy the ice core of a frost dragon mimic to take it down, or else it'll revive though. Pochi walks over to his master, asking the latter if he's not going to destroy the core. At that, Yuki carefully wraps it up in a cloth, saying there's something he wants to try, but before he could say anything further, Lucy yelled at him from ahead that they should move along. So the little hero just put the core away in his pocket and trotted after his master. Soon the familiar view of his childhood home welcomes them. Yuki barely got the word mom out when Olympia noticed him and rushed toward him, enveloping Yuki in a tight hug. She can't believe it, it's really Yuki. She welcomes him home, saying how she desperately waited for him all this time. Yuki is just as excited. If only his air circulation wasn't being cut off at the moment with how tightly Olympia is hugging him. He barely managed to choke out a "Mom, I can't breathe" before the latter realized she was crushing him. Once she released the boy, Olympia also finally noticed Lucy and reminded her of that. With that, the two adults stand together and welcome Yuki home. The little hero beams as he finally runs up to his mom and father, their family reunited again. They went inside, where Olympia prepared them a meal and asked Yuki about the city life. Like all mothers, she starts asking him multiple questions at a time, like if his job is too hard or if he's having fun. Our hero answers them all, relaying how everyone's been good to him and that he's enjoying everything so far. Olympia is not too surprised given how Yuki is working under Peter-san after all. Oh wait, Yuki is reminded of something and starts rummaging through his backpack. He pulls a paper bag saying it's a souvenir for his parents. Olympia opens it and is surprised to see a pair of lovely dolls. Lucy points out that the longer-haired doll looks like Olympia while the short-haired one looks like Lucy. Yuki hopes they will display them here at home. Of course, Olympia says she'll put them in a nice spot. Suddenly, she starts crying at the thought that her child is already a grown-up. See, even Yuki could buy them a souvenir now. The image of her tearful mother catches Yuki in a panic, but thankfully there's Lucy who calms Olympia, reminding her that children grow up so fast. Even Olympia thinks so, as she smiles and regains composure. This image of them reminds Yuki of his past life, with his sibling thanking him for everything he did for them. He understands Olympia's feelings because when his younger siblings back then suddenly became adults, he felt both happy and sad at the same time. You see, in his eyes they were still children to him. Back to the present, Yuki runs to his parents for a hug, thanking them for everything they've done. After all, it was Lucy who found him in the snowy mountains as a baby, and Olympia raised him with all her love, forever leaving him grateful to them. The sudden affection makes Olympia happy while Lucy caresses her cheek. According to her, they should be the ones thanking him. Olympia picks him up while Yuki insists that he's the grateful one. He's glad that he met them both and became part of their family. Pochi runs over to them saying he's also happy too, so Yuki comes down and hugs his pet while also thanking him. Now then, Lucy suggests Yuki tell them about the adventures he had at Twilight. Olympia thinks so too, as she's excited to hear about Yuki's heroic tales. Yuki is excited because there are actually things he wants to share with them. The next day, Yuki already has his bags packed, and Olympia asks if he really has to leave again, her face already painted with sadness. Yuki says he needs to restore the Athos Mountains as soon as possible, so he has to go. Plus, someone from the magic school might come to Peter-san's house too. At the mention of that, Olympia asks if he's referring to Lilka's place. Before he could answer, his mother warned him that he'd be lonely. Now, if only her son could stay here forever. Lucy cuts through their conversation, gently warning Olympia. The latter gets the message and levels with Yuki. Looking at him right now, she notes how he has grown so much, and the next time they meet, he'll probably even grow much more. Suddenly, the images of Yuki's younger self flash before Olympia's mind, but then she catches herself. No, she already decided that from now on she'll be cheering him with all her heart. That seems to be the only encouragement he needs, as Yukio beams right before he leaves home. The mother-son duo shares a hug, with Yuki promising to visit again soon. Olympia, on the other hand, assures him that she'll be waiting for him right here. Yuki and Pochi run along to return to Twilight, with the latter offering to give his master a ride. Yuki accepts, and in that instant, Pochi transforms into his original self. As soon as he gets on Pochi's back, the mystical creature takes off at the speed of light. Yuki's yells can be heard, telling his furry friend that he's going too fast, but Pochi actually enjoys running off like this. Before long, they've finally returned to Twilight with a dizzy Yuki. The pair walk straight to Twilight, where Peter-san welcomes them home. The older man tells him that he returned right at the perfect time because he has a visitor. Huh? Yuki wonders if it's someone from the Royal Academy as he proceeds to open the door to the next room. There, his guest immediately gets up, excited to finally meet the Yuki Kanzaki. Our little hero had barely laid his eyes on his visitor when he got blinded by the latter. It was Peter-san who introduced them. But before the older man could speak, the shining gentleman did the honors of introducing himself as Christoph Mira Albertia. Peter-san adds that he's the prince of the Albertia kingdom. As Yuki stands there dumbfounded. Did he just say a prince? Ooh, it's the prince. But what business does the prince have with little Yuki? Our hero asks this of his highness himself. For one, he can understand famous people or heroes like his master or Peter-san. But for a very sheltered child like Yuki, with that he trails off. The prince laughs it off, saying Yuki shouldn't be so wary of him. If it helps, will it be better if his highness goes straight to the point? With that, he hands a letter to Yuki. While the boy opens the letter, asking what it was, the prince tells him that it's a letter of recommendation from Professor Lilka, inviting him to the Albertia Royal Academy. Oh right, Lilka did say something like that before, but Yuki didn't expect that the prince would come and deliver it, a sentiment Peter-san also shares. Christoph tells them then that he also studied before under Lilka. Plus, he's more than happy to do her bidding, especially since it's an order from Professor Lilka herself, the honorable principal and head of the magic department. Hey, Yuki didn't know that the floating head of a person actually held such important positions. Strange person aside, the fact that the prince actually came to visit a commoner like Yuki is enough for the little guy to fawn over the former, especially since Christoph is quite the adult too. Christoph notices Yuki staring at him, so he informs the boy that Professor Lilka has been quite interested in Yuki lately, making the former also excited to meet this Yuki the professor gushes about so much. From what he heard from Lilka, Yuki is a traveler from another world and was discovered by the great hero Granadas. From there he was raised in the realm of the Great Spirit and tamed the Beast King. It has also reached Christoph's ears that Yuki also exposed the corruption in the Musion Order and even dealt with the miasma that's troubling the people. The prince suddenly gets down on one knee, saying the Albertia Royal Academy is a prestigious educational institution operated to nurture promising young people for the future. So to cultivate that element, he urges Yuki to come right away. Wow, he can't believe it. The prince of the country is actually inviting him to attend such a prestigious school. Isn't he receiving too much praise? But just as quickly, Yuki remembers that he had just started work as a handyman under Peter-san. Sure, he wants to go to the academy, but he doesn't want to neglect the work entrusted to him. He throws a worried glance over Peter-san, and the older man catches it. Sensing Yuki's hesitation, Peter-san gives him the go-ahead to attend the academy, much to the boy's shock. Is it really okay for him to do so? Peter-san vouches for Yuki, explaining how the boy is diligent with his work and that he is very careful and reliable. Hearing such words from Peter-san, the prince becomes even more impressed with Yuki, especially since Peter-san is endorsing him. Given how both adults already gave him the green light, Yuki really has no reason not to go to the academy now. So in the end, he caved in and agreed, promising to do his best as he takes the prince's hand. Now that everything is settled, Peter-san calls for his daughter. Akino comes in and starts brushing Yuki's hair. She informs him that he'll be separated from Sakura for a while once he enters the Royal Academy. So for now, she asks if Yuki can invite Sakura over to have dinner together tonight. Now that Akino says it like that, it had only occurred to Yuki that he would also be leaving Twilight. Akino says she'll put her all into tonight's cooking, so Yuki should look forward to it. So our hero makes his way to the Musion Order, where he informs Sakura of his plan to enter the institute. Of course the trainee is impressed. She already expected this much of Yuki. She goes on about how the Albertia Royal Academy is the most prestigious of prestigious schools. Even among nobles, only those from good families can enter, especially since the tuition is pretty expensive. Gah! Of course the tuition. How could Yuki forget? He doesn't have that kind of money. Sakura tells him not to panic. Surely he's invited as a scholarship student, right? Besides, nobles and talented young people from all over the country are gathered there. Yuki is relieved to hear that. Anyway, this just makes Sakura glad because she thought Yuki wasn't the type to stay in one town. As for her, she just recently became an independent saint. Yuki's not too surprised because he knows Sakura worked hard. As they continue their work, Sakura asks if he remembers the back alley she's motioning to. Yuki follows where she is looking and remembers the place. Back then he was surprised and thought Sakura might have died. The latter recalls how painful mana deficiency syndrome is, but you know what? Recently she hasn't collapsed anymore, and it's thanks to Yuki. Looking at Sakura now, he can no longer see the weak self-doubting trainee saint from back then. Now before him stands a kind and promising proper saint. Sakura urges Yuki to go without worrying, and with that the two continue their stroll around town. It's been half a year since Yuki came to Twilight, and as they go around, the townsfolk approach Yuki and wish him well on his next endeavors, even giving him presents as he goes. Soon it was almost time for dinner. So the two bid the townsfolk goodbye as they made their way back to Peterson's place. They were still a few feet away from the residence when they noticed people were crowding around the place. Just then, Akino pops out in time and sees both Yuki and Sakura approaching. She beams because finally the star of the show is back. She quickly pushes Yuki inside, leaving the boy confused. Once inside, Yuki is surprised to see everyone congratulating him for entering the Royal Academy. Peterson tells him then that it's not much, but they prepared a little farewell party with everyone in town for Yuki to celebrate his new beginning. The other folks either cheer him on or congratulate him for his next chapter, making Yuki happy. With this, he thanks them and promises to do his best. With that, Yuki's farewell party commences. Everyone ate well and shared drinks, and while Yuki and Sakura were busy munching on food, suddenly they heard somebody cry for help. They turn in the direction of the voice and see that it's from Prince Kristoff. Yuki rushes over to His Highness, asking him what's wrong. The latter has women clinging to him on each arm, panicking, as he says there's nothing wrong or right about this situation. One of the women, the dark-haired one, grabs His Highness's face, relaying how she just told him that they should drink together when their eyes met. The blonde girl continues telling how Kristoff suddenly handed them money and ran away. I mean, sure, they usually do business, but today they're not working. Just being handed money like this is pretty troublesome for them. And just who does this guy think he is? Yuki just stood there speechless because he couldn't exactly tell them that they're mishandling the country's prince, right? But you know what? The ladies are right, so like any sensible person, Yuki actually tells off the prince for what he did. He explains to Kristoff that the ladies didn't come here for work today, they just offered a drink casually to him. Realizing his mistake, at least Kristoff was quick to apologize, and thankfully the ladies also let it go, seeing how he seemed to understand what he had just done. Still, the blonde one insists on having a drink with the prince, while the dark-haired girl asks Yuki to drink with her. The little guy says he's good with it as long as he's having tea. She smiles and tells him they should have a drink once he has become an adult. But for now, she tells him to go to school and become a fine man, with Yuki replying that he'll do his best. Just like that, the farewell party went on well into the night. The next day, poor Prince Kristoff is just about ready to puke his guts out. His Highness is impressed with how Yuki can be so energetic even after all that partying last night. Our little hero hands the prince a glass of water, which the latter gratefully accepts. Akino, who watched this all unfold, comments on how somehow she can't tell which of them is the guardian since it seems that this time around it looks like it's Yuki. Hearing her say that makes Kristoff ashamed. Yuki, on the other hand, pities the prince because he was made to drink a lot yesterday. He wonders if His Highness will be alright riding a carriage in such a poor state. Wait a minute, now that Yuki remembers it, the cause of hangovers is acetaldehyde. It's a harmful substance produced when the liver breaks down alcohol. Simply put, it's poison. If people exhausted by miasma can recover by having mana transferred from others, then maybe purifying miasma and detoxification could be the same thing, no? Yuki approaches the prince and extends his hand, placing it on the latter's back as he transfers mana to the prince. Oh, the effect was instant. The prince is suddenly alert and lively as his body suddenly feels much lighter. He looks at Yuki, commending him for his wonderful healing magic. Yuki is just glad that Kristoff is better now and that his nausea is completely gone. Well, now that he's much better, the prince asks Yuki if he's ready to go. The little one goes ahead to their carriage and boards it. Peterson, Akino, and Sakura bid Yuki goodbye, with the older man asking him to send his regards to Lilka. The rest of the townsfolk of Twilight also bid Yuki goodbye, while our hero waves back to them as the carriage goes on its way. Soon the familiar houses are no more, as the scenery now changes into the open fields. Yuki promises to come back to Twilight someday, but for now he has to bid his 6-month home goodbye. Inside the carriage, Yuki and Kristoff spent their time talking. Soon Kristoff points to the window, and Yuki looks just in time to see a looming castle-like structure. Yuki and Pochi disembark from the carriage, with our little hero in awe of this school that looks just like a castle. Kristoff guides him inside, and as soon as they walk through the corridors, all eyes are glued on them. Yuki could hear the students gushing about the prince, but they're even more curious about the small child walking alongside him. Is that a new student? But no, he looks too small. They even talked about Pochi, wondering if Yuki's furry friend is actually his familiar. Yuki feels the weight of their stares and does his best to pay them no mind. Soon they stop before a room with a double door. Kristoff announces that he has brought Yuki Kanzaki with him, as proclaimed by the sorcerer Lilka. From the other side, someone tells them they could enter. Inside is Lilka, sitting on the table, while a tall and grumpy-looking woman stands with crossed arms, watching them warily. Yuki greets them, with the tall woman introducing herself as Lorenheim. She quickly gets to it, asking Yuki if he's the prodigy Lilka is trying to force into the academy. Yuki tries to clear it up, saying he's not a prodigy, but Lorenheim cuts him off, apologizing for the magic department head's reckless behavior. She continues that she has no idea how excellent the boy is, but to pass the gates of their prestigious academy, they need Yuki to follow the proper procedures. At that, it's Kristoff's turn to react, asking Lorenheim if she hasn't heard anything from Lilka. To that, Lorenheim grits her teeth as she admits that they have never received any communication from Lilka, even going as far as calling the great sorcerer this woman. Lilka fires back saying she has personally assessed Yuki so it should be fine to just let one person in. Lorenheim refuses to budge as she points out that if they allow one exception, rich people and nobles will start trying to force their way in. Fair point. The two continue butting heads and the helpless Yuki can only look on. He didn't expect this to become such a big problem. After a beat, Lorenheim turns her attention back to Yuki, saying that if this boy wants to enroll, they should take an entrance exam. At this time of the year, she says Yuki will have to take a transfer exam with increased difficulty. Lilka's not too bothered about it. If anything, she thinks it should be pretty easy for Yuki, so they should just do whatever they want. But the thought of taking an exam is somewhat sending Yuki into a panic because he hasn't studied for any exam. What is he gonna do? Lorenheim continues that first, they'll assess Yuki's talent and ability. According to her, talent is the potential given by heaven, while ability is the training engraved in his body. With that said, those will be judged by the appraising eye of the Albertia Royal Academy. Lilka can only sigh after hearing Lorenheim's insistence to follow tradition. Why can't she just trust Lilka on this one, given how the former has already seen the boy's power? But no, Lorenheim refuses, because how could they trust what comes out of this sorcerer's mouth? First, Lorenheim calls Yuki over, and the latter easily complies. The older woman starts patting Yuki's neck and caressing his cheeks. Well, this is not so bad after all. He wonders if this is her performing a body check since they have to be careful about these particular things too. But the only thing Lorenheim found out about Yuki is that he has soft cheeks. After a bit, the older woman steps away and deems that there doesn't seem to be anything unusual about Yuki. For the next one, they wait for someone. And soon enough, they hear someone from the other side of the door. This time, Lorenheim says Yuki will undergo the appraisal ritual by the appraiser, who is an elder woman dressed in a dark cloak. Yuki stares at this strange elder woman while the latter details how her eyes can see a person's talent, which they refer to as the appraising eye. This is in exchange for her not being born with normal eyes. Oh, Yuki understands now, this elder woman is blind. Looking at the white orbs of her eyes, he can't help but think that he has seen this before. Meanwhile, the appraiser instructs Yuki to keep still as she eyes him, no pun intended. A second later, she shouts and stumbles backward. She can't believe it, this kid is incredible. She was already rambling about Yuki so much that Lorenheim had to ask her to get a hold of herself. Instead of listening to the latter, the elder woman asks for a paper and then proceeds to jot down all of Yuki's talents. The boy's multiple talents include enabling communication between languages of different worlds, a sturdy body, resistance to disease and injury, and the ability to tame all magical beasts, courtesy of taming Fenrir, the king of magical beasts. But wait, there's more. His sturdy body skill is even more special since he was raised under the protection of a high-ranking spirit, granting him resistance to all diseases and injuries. There's also his sleep anywhere skill, ensuring his healthy growth and the ability to transfer his own mana to others for healing. Lorenheim, Kristoff, and Lilka could only stare at the long list in silence. Meanwhile, Yuki finally gets why he could understand Pochi now, it's because of the skills. While he was busy reading the list, Lorenheim still refused to believe it. But this time, it's the appraiser who insists this is all true. Well, Yuki did refuse any reincarnation cheats, but isn't this a bit too much? Without knowing what to say, he was about to set things straight when Kristoff saw the boy's skills written on the paper. He instantly beams because he expected no less from the favored child raised by the great hero Granadas and the great spirit Olympia. At the mention of that, both Lorenheim and the appraiser stopped bickering. He's what now? Cut to several hours later. Lorenheim caves in, feeling embarrassed as she announces that Yuki Kanzaki's admission has been approved by an emergency meeting of all department heads. Lilka has that triumphant grin on her face, as if saying, "I told you so" to Lorenheim. Yuki feels a little embarrassed by the whole fiasco and can only hope to get along with everyone from now on. Kristoff congratulates Yuki for finally becoming an official student at the institute. Now they can spend their academic life together. Eh? Yuki is shocked because he didn't expect the prince to be a student here. Our boy really thought Kristoff was around 20. Bro, Kristoff is only 17 and his highness says he'll be graduating next year. To help Yuki understand the academy better, Kristoff gives him a brief overview of the institute. First, the younger students spend time in the General Studies department. Then, after 2 or 3 years, a select few students who pass the selection join the specialized departments. That's the custom at the academy. As for Yuki, Kristoff says he'll be in the General Studies, prompting our hero to ask which department the prince is in. The latter says he's in General Studies, but he does take classes from Professor Lilka. As for Yuki, since he's a junior, the boy will start in General Studies. Yuki gets it now, and as the two are about to exit, with Kristoff offering to take him on a dormitory tour, Lilka stops them in their tracks. Just what the heck was Kristoff saying? Obviously, Yuki will be in Lilka's magic department. No sooner had the words left her mouth than Lorenheim started kicking up a fuss. Why does this woman keep acting on her own interests? But Lilka is firm this time, pushing the latter aside as she walks up to Yuki. Our little hero, on the other hand, reminds Lilka of the school's customs, but as if the sorcerer gives a crap about that. She asks Yuki what he came here for. The boy answers it's because of summoning magic, but before he could finish, Lilka tells him that his dream of dispelling the miasma in Athos may come true if he learns magic from Lilka. That may be so, but Lorenheim is firmly against this. Didn't they just have this conversation earlier? They need to set an example for the students. Well, if that's the case, Lilka suggests Yuki only needs to pass the magic department selection, right? If he does, then there won't be any problems, correct? Fine, Lilka says they should do it right now, the magic department selection exam. Just like that, several students of the institute were gathered at the open courtyard, including our little hero. He's already worried because if he fails the exam, then the path to learning magic will be much longer. To avoid that, he just needs to do his best and focus for now. The other students are chattering among themselves, wondering why they are having a magic department selection exam during a strange time. Another student answers it's because of that small transfer student. Like the others, two students, a dark-haired girl named Cecilia and a boy with glasses, Basil, also talk about Yuki. Cecilia shares how she heard that this is all because of the magic department head's pet project, as she asks what Basil thinks. The latter believes it's probably just the magic department head's whim. There's no way this little boy could pass. Suddenly there was a loud clap, catching everyone's attention. Lilka's voice booms as she announces that given the timing, this selection is a special edition. Usually the magic department selection involves 3 sleepless nights, and this just makes the students groan. Just what are they planning to make the students do in this special edition? Lilka then proceeds to tell the rules of the selection, which are fairly simple. Anyone still standing in this spot 1 minute after the spot will pass, it doesn't matter what method they use. The students started murmuring at this strange condition, while Yuki internalized what she just said. Her only condition is to keep standing where they are for a minute, which means a lot of things will happen to make it hard for them to stay in their position. Lilka left him no room to ponder more as the esteemed sorcerer commenced the exam in the next second. Yuki already has an inkling of what may happen, so he quickly leapt and ran to the walls. The others who saw him were stunned. Is this kid really running along the wall? As it turns out, our little hero is correct because not a moment later the ground began to shake, catching most of the students off guard. Hey, earth magic is pretty basic for Lilka and all. Like Yuki, there are some who had an idea of what's going to happen. He sees one student floating while the others use their own magic to get out of trouble. Can you believe the others aren't even members of the magic department yet? Because of this, Yuki finds the Albertia Royal Academy even more amazing. But no time for marveling. Lilka is ready to hit them with the second wave of her antics. For now, Yuki successfully lands back on his feet, so the first wave came from below, which means the next one will probably come from above, right? And right he is. A sudden gale appears out of nowhere, hurling many of the students up in the air. As if that strong gale isn't bad enough, it's also mixed with icicles. Yuki jumps in time to avoid a large chunk of icicles sent his way. Our nimble hero evaded many of the shards, but just as he landed, one more was about to hit him from behind. Thankfully, Pochi transformed into his true form and blocked it, protecting his master's back. Yuki thanks him, but the latter answers that there's no need to thank him for it. From the sidelines, some of the students wonder if Pochi is a familiar, while others cheerfully claim that it's a magical beast. But what's even more shocking for them is how the hell does a kid like him have a tame skill? Yuki can feel the weight of their stares, but for him he thinks the ones using manipulating magic are much more impressive. Lilka saw what Yuki just did, but it's fine. If anything, she's impressed that this boy is taking the anything goes method head on. If that's the case, the sorcerer decides to take the boy on directly, as she conjures flame magic and fires it directly at Yuki. The latter braces himself, but even that's too hot for him. Even Pochi reverts to his cute form because of the intense heat. Even with his sturdy body skill, the heat injures Yuki. He notices how Pochi is also struggling. Even the king of magical beasts is not good with fire, huh? Pochi is pissed off and is ready to have a go if he wasn't struggling with the fire so much. Well, if it's like this, Yuki decides to handle this with his own power and his skills. Sturdy body, great spirits, favor, and healer. Yuki thinks of his mom's love embodying his sturdy body and then circulates the mana he has stored up with all his might. He recalls the feeling when he helped Sakura and cured Kristoff's hangover. Before long, the other students notice Yuki is surrounded by a shining light. It's self-enhancement magic. Yuki is healing himself before the burns even happen. From above, Lilka is impressed with how the boy created his own magic in the heat of the moment, as expected of our hero. She waves her hand, lifting the spell and instantly dissipating the icicles. Phew, Yuki can finally breathe for a bit. Our little hero has managed so far, but it has left him along with 2 other students, Cecilia and Basil. He asks them if they're really the only ones left, with both of them saying that it's a pretty appropriate selection given how it's an impromptu sorting exam. Yuki turns to Lilka and sees that the latter is still smiling, so he warns the other 2 that it's not over yet. In fact, it might not have been a minute yet. He remembers his master told him before to never let his guard down when hunting. Judging by the selection methods so far, there's still more to come. That's when Lilka told him that being able to sleep anywhere isn't a good thing. Lilka casts her spell, it's sleep magic. Basil and Cecilia couldn't do much against this, and even Yuki himself starts to feel so drowsy that he's about to lose consciousness. He sees the other 2 collapse, but no, he refuses to go down. If it's like this, then there's only one thing he can do. From above, Lorenheim can't help but comment about Lilka's nasty tactics. The other isn't bothered because as far as she's concerned, magic is meant to be disliked. Besides, she just poked Yuki's skill and used it as his weakness. Being able to sleep anytime and anywhere means he's more susceptible to sleep magic than others. Just then, one of the students pointed to the scene before them. As the smoke of sleep magic lifts, they see 3 silhouettes. Oh, Cecilia and Basila both hold on to a sleeping Yuki in between them. The students were shocked. What just happened? Basila explains how the boy read through the whole scenario and prioritized waking the two instead of himself. Even Cecilia had to commend Yuki for his healing and status effect removal through mana transfer. He looks impressed, especially when Yuki could have just held his breath to avoid falling asleep himself. But with what he did, it just shows how much of a good-natured fellow he is. Well, since a minute has already passed since the mist filled the area, Lilka announces her pick. Yuki Kanzaki, as well as Cecilia and Basil, passed the exam. Yuki woke up with a start. He sits up in bed, yawning, just as Pochi leaps right into him, excited to see his master has woken. Yuki greets him with a good morning, and that's when he realizes something. Just where is he? As far as he remembers, he was put under a sleeping spell during the selection exam. Before he succumbed to sleep, he remembers how he tried to remove the drowsiness from those two quickly, but after that, Yuki has no recollection of what happened next. Crap, he has no idea of the exam's results either. As if on cue, there was a knock on the door and Kristoff appeared, pleased to see that Yuki was finally awake. Boy, is Yuki happy to see a familiar face. He asks the prince where he was, and the latter answers that he's in one of the dormitory rooms, specifically his shared room with Kristoff. The prince took the liberty of making them roommates, since Yuki may have a hard time adjusting. But now that he's talking about it, Kristoff asks if Yuki doesn't like it. Our little hero assures him that it's fine and that he's happy with it. Thank goodness for that, because Kristoff really was worried for Yuki given how the latter slept for 3 whole days after the exam. You can imagine the shock on Yuki's face, but more importantly, what happened with his exam. Our hero was already assuming the worst when Kristoff told him that he passed, once again leaving Yuki shocked. According to the prince, our boy's noble spirit of not abandoning others during the exam left a deep impression, including on Kristoff. Well, if he passed, what about the other 2 students who were with him? The older boy assures Yuki that they passed as well. With nothing more to worry about, Kristoff suggests that he get ready so they can go to the academy. Say no more. A second later, Yuki is now wearing the school's designated uniform. Even Kristoff is pleased to see that it's a perfect fit. As for Yuki himself, it's been a while since he has worn something like this. And what do you know? He's a brand new first-year student as of today. Lucky for him, Kristoff had already taken care of all the enrollment procedures with the prince, even offering to give him a brief tour of the academy. Nobody's going to say no to that, so the 2 of them traverse through the school grounds and library before finally finding themselves in the general studies classroom. According to the prince, this is where Yuki will be attending classes. Looking at this spacious classroom, Yuki makes a mental note to work hard so he can learn magic. After a beat, Kristoff awkwardly asks Yuki if it's okay with the boy to stay with him apart from class. Huh. Yuki doesn't get it. Why would Kristoff ask for something like that? Well, the latter says it would be much better for Yuki to see it for himself. Just then, the prince becomes alarmed as he hears chattering a few feet ahead of them. Without further ado, he turns his back and tells Yuki that he'll be waiting near the stairs by the cafeteria during lunchtime. He'll make sure to explain by then. The prince bolts out of there, leaving our hero wondering what this is all about. Soon enough, it was time for Yuki's first class. The other students were already gushing about him since they knew he was the one who passed the magic department selection exam. Heck, even Pochi's getting some attention because of how cute he is. Lorenheim introduces Yuki to the class, though she knows many of them may already know who he is. Still, she announces to everyone that starting today, Yuki will be attending class with them. Our boy introduces himself, but he was so nervous that he bit his own tongue. Lorenheim tells him to ask for her help if he encounters any problems. Like Kristoff, she tells him that Yuki may be unfamiliar with many things around here, so until he gets used to it, she will accompany him for a while. Wait, she? Who is she? A pretty girl with blonde hair steps up and introduces herself to Yuki as Rosalia, giving a little bow as she does so. Even Yuki is smitten with how beautiful she is. Lorenheim says Rosalia is the closest in age to Yuki in this class, so that would make her a good pair for him. Speaking of, this is the first time that Yuki has talked to someone who looks so close to his age, but it's really not helping, it just makes him even more nervous. Yuki greets Rosalia, who is smiling since she has already heard so much about Yuki from her brother. Wait, her brother? Who is her brother? Lorenheim cuts in and tells him that Rosalia is Kristoff's little sister, which makes her the country's princess. Oh my god, a real princess! Yuki introduces himself more formally this time, but Rosalia assures him that there are no distinctions of status within the academy. Lorenheim adds that in her class she instructs those with family names to generally refrain from using them. The only thing she expects from the students in her class is to respect each other's individual characteristics. Well, if that's the case, Yuki wipes his hand on his robe before extending it to Rosalia. This time, he does a casual greeting to Rosalia, with the latter looking at his extended hand curiously. Yuki tells her that it's called a handshake, a sign of friendship. Her eyes widen upon hearing the term, with Yuki happily shaking her hand. It seems that the princess is not used to such a gesture, because after doing this she gingerly holds the hand that Yuki shook. Anyway, classes commence soon after that. Lorenheim calls Yuki to answer the problem she wrote on the board. Of course, Yuki managed to get it right, leaving his classmates impressed with him. Soon after, the bell rang, signaling their lunch break. Yuki and Rosalia walk together, and she can't help but be impressed with him. Our boy tries to brush it off, but she insists that there's no need to be so modest, especially since he managed to answer a difficult question smoothly. Not only is he exceptional in physical ability and magical aptitude, but he's also first-rate in academics. Yuki can only thank her for the kind words because he can't exactly reveal that he's an adult living in a child's body, can he? He did graduate from university in his past life, but it does make him wonder if Japan's compulsory education is the real cheat. Ahead, they see a group of female students crowding around the corridor. He mentions to Rosalia that the area seems pretty lively, to which the latter points out that it's the direction of the cafeteria. Wait a minute. Didn't Kristoff say he'll wait near the cafeteria? Yuki dashes forward, remembering his promise with Kristoff. And yes, it's indeed Kristoff. The girls had him surrounded, asking for guidance on their assignment. That's quite an impressive group of girls, even in Yuki's humble perspective. Rosalia finally catches up to him, saying it's always easy to spot where her brother is. Eh? So is it always like this? Kristoff finally sees them and starts waving frantically to Yuki. Our hero finally understands what the latter meant by his earlier request. The poor prince looks troubled, so Yuki decides to help him. At times like these, there's only one thing to do. Yuki yells out Kristoff's name, followed by a loud "I'm hungry." His yelling caught the girls by surprise, so now Kristoff has a valid excuse to get out of this predicament. He had plans to eat with Yuki after all. With that, the prince walks over to our hero, thanking him for saving him back there. Yuki pulls on his cloak and says they should eat quickly. That's when Rosalia speaks up and makes her presence known. Kristoff didn't expect his baby sister to be here. It's pretty rare for the princess to be in the cafeteria. To that, Rosalia explains that she's in charge of looking after Yuki in the first-year class. Kristoff explains that it's customary for royalty attending the academy to dine separately, but this time he asks if Rosalia would be okay if he joins them for meals this time. His sister easily agrees, much to Kristoff's relief. You see, Rosalia is someone who values customs so much, but to this she clarifies that it's because she's Yuki's friend. Her comment leaves Yuki confused again. Oh, maybe asking for a handshake was rude, no? Before he can overthink it, Pochi suggests they hurry and eat. They settle on the farthest booth in the cafeteria, and since they're done eating, Kristoff asks if Yuki will be attending Lilka's class to study magic later this afternoon. He informs him then that the magic department's building is a bit far, so he suggests they leave early. Yuki thinks that would be best, and Rosalia was also about to offer to guide Yuki there when she realizes something. Kristoff knows his sister has a general studies class. With that, he tells her not to worry since Kristoff will guide Yuki instead. Well, if that's the case, Rosalia leaves him in her brother's care. Before they left, Yuki waved and thanked her for today, already excited to see her tomorrow. Rosalia waves back, looking at her hand as she finally has her first friend. As they make their way to the magic department's building, Kristoff notes how his sister seems to have taken a liking to Yuki. He goes on about how Rosalia has to be on guard a lot both in her private and academic life. With that said, he hopes Yuki will be good friends with his sister. That's no problem for Yuki. Just then, the prince points him to where the magic department's head office is. Yuki makes a run for it, but not before thanking Kristoff. Yuki knocks on the door and almost immediately Lika tells him to come in. Our boy greets his teacher with the latter welcoming him. She beams because now he'll officially become her disciple. At that, Yuki says he can't become her disciple. That got Lika upset because why not? What's his reason? Yuki calmly answers that he wants to learn magic, but his only master is Lucy Granadas. With that said, he can't really call Lika master. Lika is crashing out because why? There are so many who want to be her disciples, and Yuki downright rejected her. To that, Yuki says he'll just call her teacher instead. Hearing that instantly calmed down Lika given how she doesn't get called that much. So back to business. Yuki tells her that there's a kind of magic he wants to learn. He doesn't even have to say what it is because Lilka knows he wants to learn how to summon objects from another world. She finds explaining very taxing, so she tells him to just practice and she'll assist him. First she tells him to hold out his hand, then she proceeds to do some type of magic on it. Suddenly a magic circle appeared on Yuki's hand. Lilka explains that with that mark he can cancel out all the complicated stuff like incantations and magic formulas for summoning magic. Ooh, amazing! But here's the big question, how can Yuki do it? Lilka hums and tells him then that it's all about the vibes. Oh no, Yuki already knows how this will be. With narrowed eyes, he asks her if she has ever taught magic to anyone else before. Lilka proudly says, no, adding that students grow on their own anyway. Well, spoken like a lazy college professor, that's encouraging. To be fair, Lilka points out how Yuki came up with defensive magic on his own during the exam, right? It's the same feeling as that, so he should just imagine it. She goes on to instruct him to imagine the phenomenon he wants to cause or the results he wants to achieve. The clearer and more vivid the image, the more powerful the magic becomes. Okay, Yuki kind of gets it now and kind of doesn't. He extends both hands in front of him while Lilka lies on the table saying practice is the only way. Just then they hear a knock on the door. It was Cecilia. Lilka says she could come in while Yuki continues to imagine when he was healed from the burn during the exam. Cecilia walks in and is about to raise a concern about Yuki, but as soon as she does, Cecilia bumps into Yuki, accidentally shoving the poor boy to the floor. Gay, speak of the devil. She didn't know Yuki was here, feeling apologetic because she didn't notice he was here given how small he was. Yuki remembers this girl. She's from the exam. Cecilia takes this chance to introduce herself and says she actually wanted to consult Yuki about something. Just then, Pochi starts pawing her leg before suddenly biting into the item she was holding and running away with it. Pochi claims he could smell the fragrant smell of miasma, pulling the blanket and revealing something strange. Yes, this is what Cecilia wanted to talk about. It's a root crop with a scorned face? What is this thing?